My psycho entitled cousin commits fraud by literally using my card number without asking me first to pay for her vacation rental that she wanted to reserve. And despite the fact that she didn't even ask me first, I now have a $1,500 charge on my credit card that I have to deal with on top of my own bills, as my cousin literally doesn't see any problem with this, despite the fact that I lost my mind on her when I found this on my statement. Here's what happened. Okay, so last summer, my cousin needed to book a flight for a job interview, and her bank account was being weird. I think there was some hold on her debit card or something like that. She then asked if she could use my credit card and she would send me the money right away. And you know what? I said sure. She paid me back the next day and there was no issues and no drama. But that was supposed to be a one-time thing. Fast forward to about a month ago and I get an alert on my phone for a charge of $1,500 for some vacation rental site. My heart dropped because I thought someone stole my card information. I started going through the charge details and that's when I saw her name in the booking confirmation. I then called her immediately, like, what in the world is this? And it was here that she was so casual about her response. She said she found this beach house for her anniversary trip and they needed a card on file right away to hold the reservation. And she didn't want to lose the date, so she just used mine, without calling me or texting me or even asking. She just typed in my card number from whenever she saved it last year. She said she would pay me back when she gets her bonus in a few weeks, but it's like, dude, a few weeks? So now $1,500 is just floating on my credit card for weeks while I have my own bills. I told her that's not how this works, but she said I was overreacting and that she'd literally just used it before and paid me back, so what's the big deal? Well, the big deal is I said yes the last time. This time she just helped herself. So I called the bank and disputed the charge, and they reversed it. And eventually the rental company contacted her saying the payment didn't go through and they were releasing the reservation. I then told her using someone else's card without permission is fraud. I don't care if we're related. But once I said that, she went quiet and then hung up on me. So am I the jerk for disputing this? Like, am I really at fault for putting my foot down about this situation? Because right now I don't know what else to do. Holy crap, this is so sketchy. You mean to tell me that she saved your card information for a year, waiting for the right time to use it again? My God, if I was in your shoes, I would go through my entire bank statement. I would be like, holy crap, did I actually buy this or did my cousin scam me out of money here and there? Because I would not trust a single thing on that statement. I'd be like, okay, I either need receipts, otherwise I'm gonna have to dispute this and figure this out. Like, holy crap, this is so unbelievably dishonest. Like, why would she save that for a year? That is so weird. Like, I don't care who you are. If someone's giving you a leg up and helping you out, the least you can do is have some semblance of privacy towards their information. Like, I'm kind of starting to understand why they had a hold on their debit card, because I'm willing to bet she probably did this before at some point in her life. Or she's just super corrupt and she's like, yeah, I'm gonna save this for a year. 365 days for the right moment. Thanks for the $1,500. Like, oh my God. So I really hope the original poster definitely never trust them ever again, because this cousin is very clearly untrustworthy, because what they did was completely unacceptable. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for expecting a girl to get off a treadmill at the gym who literally was just standing there and not using it? Because after I asked her to move, her mom got involved and pretty much chewed me out for saying anything about this. And at this point, I'm not sure if I made a mistake or if I crossed a line somewhere. Here's what's going on. Okay, so the gym I go to doesn't really have a lot of treadmills, and I've recently started running. I went to the gym with my partner last night and all the treadmills were in use. So I used some weight machines to start, then went back to the treadmills. I then noticed there was a girl just sat on the treadmill while her friend was using the treadmill next to her. She had been there for at least 15 minutes not using it, so I went up and I asked if she was planning on using it. She said that she was with her friend, but I said to her, well, can you sit next to your friend's machine instead of taking up machines from people who want to use them? But when I said that, she just shrugged her shoulders and refused to move. Then a woman comes over and asks what's going on, and I explain it. She said she's the girl's mother and that I shouldn't be telling her daughter to move. But I just said her daughter shouldn't be taking up machines that she has no intention of using. She then said that her daughter is more than allowed to sit there if she wants to, and that she's doing nothing wrong. But I just said, well, I can see exactly where her daughter gets the entitlement from. She then said that I was out of order for commenting on her parenting, but I just said that she should be a better parent if she can't handle any criticism. A member of staff then came over, and when I explained what was going on, they actually asked the daughter to move off the treadmill or leave the gym. My girlfriend says that maybe I shouldn't have argued with the mother, but I seriously don't see how I've done anything wrong. So am I the jerk here? Because right now I'm not sure if I'm in the wrong. No, I don't think you're the jerk. I think you absolutely had every right to be like, hey, either use it or lose it. Because dude, especially this time of year, like everybody's going back to the gym, so obviously machines are going to be in use, and it's like, dude, I need to use it. I shouldn't have to sit there and wait while you just chat away with your friend. Stand next to him. Don't take up one of the machines if you're not using it, because that, in my opinion, is super annoying and very entitled. An airline cleaner stole my AirPods after I left them on the plane, and so now I'm getting some petty revenge by slowly trying to make them go deaf by playing a really loud sound through an application anytime they put my AirPods on. Here's what happened. About 6 months ago, I had a layover in Houston. After deplaning and going through security, I realized that my headphones had fallen out of my pocket. I then submitted the lost item claim with United and gave the description of the color of the silicone case they had on them, as well as the plane info, the seat number, the whole thing. I also set it to lost mode and included my phone number to call me. I emailed United a few times, stating that I could see they had moved from the plane to what seemed to be the United office space, but I now realize it was probably employee lockers. After about 24 hours, I saw them go to an apartment building. I watched them go from the apartment building to the airport, back and forth, and tracked the schedule specifically. I gave United the address of the employee, their schedule, and what days they had worked. Surely the home address and schedule was enough to pinpoint who it was, so they could at least deal with it internally, and I wasn't exactly excited to get the AirPods back if they had been wearing them. United then told me that the AirPods had left the property and that they wouldn't do anything, and that I had to file a police report with the Houston Police Department. For reference, I live in Arizona, so they just closed my claim. Now, I use the Find My Device application a lot for various AirTags and stuff like that. So for the last few months, whenever I see my lost headphones with the earbuds out, I hit play sound on the earbud and I blast the wearer's ears completely out, and I then quickly see them go back into the case. If they would have called me when they found them, I happily would have sent them a reward, even enough to buy their own basic pair. I understand they are expensive and not everyone can swing a pair, but you know what? I'm slowly working towards making them go deaf. That way no one else loses a set of headphones to them, and I think this is the pettiest thing I've ever done and probably the only thing I can do. Oh man, that really sucks. Are you serious right now? If I lost a pair of AirPods, I would be so pissed. Bro, you've got to be kidding me. Those are expensive. It just goes to show you that you've got to be careful with your property, because who knows who's gonna like pick it up and take it from you. But I love the fact that you're basically trying to make them go deaf any chance that you get, because you know what? A twisted part of me is like, yeah, they kind of deserve that, because this is such a toxic thing to do. So hopefully in some universe you get your AirPods back and you're able to at least like recoup some of the cost of losing it, because the fact that United did not even go any further, in my opinion, is not surprising, but it's also very frustrating because you do not deserve this in the slightest. Am I the jerk for refusing to go to my sister-in-law's baby shower, all because of the way she talked to me and my mother when I was pregnant? Because now literally every woman in the family is following my example by not showing up, putting me in a predicament where I really just don't know what to do now. Here's what's happening. Okay, so this started as soon as my brother married a woman who I will call Ruby for the sake of the story. At the time, everyone seemed to really like her, and my older sister and I were part of her bridal party. Her wedding was around 5 years ago. Pretty soon, they were talking about trying to have kids, and they were struggling with infertility issues. Ruby was quite upset, but it got a lot worse when my older sister got pregnant. Ruby was snappish and mean to my older sister, and people tried to be mindful since she was struggling. But when the baby was born, Ruby didn't send anything. Well, fast forward and I got pregnant my senior year of college. It was a surprise baby, and I only told my mom because I was unsure what to do. I was a heavy drinker at family events, and when I wasn't drinking, my grandma joked that I must be pregnant, and you know what? My face gave it away. And that's literally how it came out. I didn't plan to tell the family like that. Well, Ruby, in short, lost it on me. She yelled at me about how I don't deserve a kid and called me a lot of terrible names. My mom tried to make her stop, but she yelled at her as well and told my mom that she deserved the stillbirth that she had. I mean, the whole thing was just horrible. When I gave birth, I posted pictures online, and Ruby actually made a post online saying that some people don't deserve kids. And no, she has not apologized for this. Now, here's the real issue. Ruby is now pregnant and she's having her baby shower, and all the women in the family got an invite. I talked to my mom about it, and you know what? I decided not to go. My mom is also not going, and everyone seems to be following my lead on this. We all RSVP'd no, and my brother called me asking to please just come to the shower. But I told him no, and it started an argument. He says his wife has been crying about being hated by the family and just wants everyone to make up. But I told him that isn't my problem, and this is literally her fault. He wants me to suck it up and come anyways, and has texted me multiple times about it. But I know if I don't go, no one else will, especially my mother. I mean, she hates Ruby after that argument. And just in case people are wondering, no, we probably won't have a relationship with the baby if nothing changes. privileges. I already don't allow my kid near her in the first place, and I have a very strict if you're a jerk to me, you don't get access to my kids policy. My mom will probably not be a grandparent to the child either, because she will not put up with someone that she hates just to have access to a kid. So am I the jerk here? Because right now I don't know what to do. Oh my gosh, Ruby sounds like a nightmare. I hate people like this, dude. They're the worst people to deal with, especially when you're related to them. Like, bro, all you had to do was not be a psychopath about other people having children, and you would have people at your baby shower. But Ruby is literally reaping the rewards of her bad karma she put out into the universe. If Ruby doesn't want to be hated in the family and wants everybody to make up, then guess what, Ruby? You gotta be the one to do it. You've gotta be the one to step up and be like, I'm sorry for what I said. I'm a terrible person for saying that. Please forgive me and show up. Like, let's be a family again, please. Or something like that. Like, she's got to be the one to extend the olive branch, in my opinion, because this is some crazy behavior. Does she really expect the mom and the original poster to show up after the terrible things that she said about them? Oh, I'm glad you had a stillbirth. Oh, and by the way, you shouldn't have kids. Like, she really needs to apologize for this. Like, this is so weird. So no, you're not the jerk for not wanting to show up to this. I think it's important to cut toxic people out of your life, especially ones who are like irrational and expecting you to wallow through their crap when they refuse to clean it up themselves. That is very unfair and something I would personally refuse to deal with. My brother used to be the most obnoxious Call of Duty player on planet Earth, as he would scream and shout at all hours of the night if he did poorly in the game, which as a result would keep me up all night. So I decided to get some petty revenge by quite literally disrupting his gameplay by booting him offline through the Wi-Fi router, just in some kind of desperate effort for me to get some sleep. Here's how I did it. Okay, so back in the day when I lived at my family's home, my younger brother was addicted to playing Call of Duty and was one of those teenagers that would take it way too seriously. My bedroom was downstairs and his was above mine. And when he would lose or get taken out in a way he decided was unfair, he would shout down his headset and slam his feet onto the ground, which shook my entire bedroom. And guess what? This would go on until early hours of the morning, despite me asking him time and time again to please keep it down. It got to the point where I was exhausted all the time after being constantly woken up. I even recall this happening until 3 in the morning of a job interview, which I subsequently failed as I couldn't even think straight. He was a bit of a psycho in those days, and so he wouldn't really care if he was keeping me up or not. If I did anything by force, like switch his PlayStation off or whatever, then he'd likely retaliate far more severely. So I needed to find a way to make sure it seemed like it wasn't me. It would be too obvious if I turned the entire router off and on, as it takes time to reestablish itself. So I opted to log into our router settings via my phone and would change the password to something else, then change it right back again. This would automatically boot off everything on the network for just a moment and then reconnect. And you know what? It was perfect. If he got too loud, then I could just boot him off the game and it would look like an outage or a server issue in game. Then I would let him start another game and would repeat the process until he eventually got fed up with it and finally just turned it off. I think it also created a Pavlov's dog response in him to not get so angry at it, or else it would mysteriously disconnect. Oh, and by the way, he never caught on to it being me, though he did comment on how much better the Wi-Fi has been ever since I moved out. But you know what? I just lied to him by saying, well, I guess it must be because it's using less bandwidth. But between you and me, we both know the real answer for this issue. Okay, I love this because, man, I know people like this and they are obnoxious to be around. They're the kind of people who think they're going to go pro in Call of Duty or any other game, which then makes them the most intense and obnoxious people to play with, which also subsequently is like, okay, I don't want to play with this person. They're taking this way too seriously. They're sucking the fun out of the room. This sucks. So yeah, I think this was some much needed revenge against your brother because he was being obnoxious, and I don't blame you for getting back at him. Am I the jerk for telling my uncle that I don't want to be like his kids after he criticized the way my adoptive mom is raising me? Because right now he is really pissed off and I'm not sure if I crossed the line. Here's what happened. Okay, for a bit of backstory, my mom passed away when I was little. She had been sick for a while, and before she died, she set everything up so I would go to her best friend, who I will call Katie for the sake of the story. My uncle, who I will call Nick, fought for custody of me after my mom passed away because he thought I should be with family. Katie has custody of me and adopted me, but I spend one weekend a month with Nick and his family, although lately it's been a little less because of competitions. Visits to Nick's house are not court ordered. Katie just wants me to have a connection with my biological family. Nick and Katie are very different people. Katie and her husband are both doctors, whereas Nick is a cop and his wife is a preschool teacher. I've been in private school my entire life, and my school is about 2 years ahead of the local public schools, which are also some of the best in the area and are ahead of the public schools in other areas. Nick and his wife homeschool their kids mostly for political reasons. I do competitive cheerleading through my school, and I do competitive dance through a studio. I also play piano, I used to do the clarinet, but I just quit to have more time for cheer. Nick's kids go to the church youth group and youth choir and don't really do any other activities. Katie also makes me earn my allowance. I have to work and she'll match whatever I make at the end of the month, and Nick just gives his kids money whenever. I was at Nick's house last weekend and he was doing his usual thing where he talks crap about Katie and her parenting and how I never have any free time, which is not true, because he says that I'm always doing homework or I'm at dance or at cheerleading or working, and how his kids actually get to be kids because they only do 2 to 3 hours of school a day and don't have to worry about competitions or maintaining a good GPA. He said something like, "Wouldn't it be nice to slow down and get to be a kid like my kids are?" I then told him that I like my life the way it is, and I wouldn't want to be like his kids. I'm going to start dual enrollment college classes next year, and I don't know if his kids are even going to be able to go to college, considering my 10-year-old cousin still can't multiply single-digit numbers, and my 14-year-old cousin is technically a grade above me, but she can't solve simple linear equations. Plus, they don't have any hobbies. Every time I come over, we just go to the mall and look around and watch movies at their house and eat a lot of fast food. He then got pissed off at me because apparently I have no right to criticize his parenting and I'm insulting his kids. So he ended up calling Katie and told her to pick me up early because he says I'm a spoiled, entitled brat that thinks I'm better than them. Katie thinks I should have just smiled and nodded and that I went a little bit too far. So we've decided it'll be best if I don't go to their house for a while, but I'm starting to feel bad because I did kind of call my cousin stupid. So am I the jerk here? Because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, first of all, no, I don't think you're the jerk at all because, dude, your uncle absolutely started it. Because let me get this straight, he's allowed to criticize Katie, but the second you try to criticize his kids and his parenting, suddenly you've crossed the line? Like, what's going on right now? This is so stupid. Like, you're clearly excelling in life, you're doing really well, you're about to start college at a really early age, and he's trying to be like, wow, don't you want to be a kid right now? But in my opinion, it kind of sounds like you're happy doing what you're doing. Like, why not go full steam ahead and just go for it? Just because his children are going at a snail's pace doesn't mean you have to be held back. Like, go for it. And I just hate the way that Nick acted towards this. Like, this seems like so over the top. If anything, he's probably projecting and being like, oh wow, she's right, but I can't say that she's right, otherwise I'm gonna look weak. And don't get me wrong, this is not a shot at any kid that's been homeschooled. There are plenty of people out there who are active, working professionals who didn't go to like a public school and just went to school at home, who are just as intelligent as anybody else. But if the parents aren't like really pushing their kids to learn and like do more, then guess what? They're probably not gonna want to do anything. So no, overall, I don't think you're the jerk at all. You didn't do anything wrong. You just responded to his weird remarks, and he clearly didn't like that, and that, in my opinion, is his problem and not yours. Am I the jerk for refusing to let my roommate host her wedding at our shared apartment? Because right now she's saying that I'm being selfish by saying no, and at this point I don't know what to do. Okay, for starters, I'm 22 years old and I live with my roommate, who I will call Jess for the sake of the story. We've been sharing an apartment for about a year and it's been mostly smooth sailing. However, things recently took a turn when Jess asked if she could host her wedding at our apartment in 2 months. To give some context, our apartment is a small 2-bedroom unit in a nice part of town, but it's definitely not big enough for a wedding. The place is cozy, but cozy doesn't exactly translate to wedding venue. When Jess first brought it up, I thought she was joking, but she was serious. She wants to have a small, intimate ceremony and a reception at the apartment. She said it would save money, and she assured me that she'd handle everything: the decorations, the catering, the cleaning, etc. Now, I immediately felt uncomfortable with the idea. While I understand that weddings can be expensive, I just didn't think it was a good idea to hold such a big event in our shared space. So I told Jess that I just didn't feel comfortable with it, mostly because of the space issue, but also because I just didn't want to have strangers in my home all day. We have some nice neighbors, and I didn't want to risk noise complaints or ruining the vibe of the apartment, especially since it's such a tight-knit community. When I said this, Jess got upset. She said that I was being selfish and that it wasn't like I would be hosting the wedding. She would be doing everything. But the reality is, the space is still shared, and I'm the one who will have to live with the aftermath, like cleaning up, extra traffic in the building, and just the general disruption. She even mentioned that she would pay me for my trouble, but honestly, I don't think money solves the discomfort of having such a personal event in our shared space. I suggested other options like renting a small venue, but Jess insists that that's too expensive. She's also saying that I'm not being supportive of her wedding plans, and that's making me feel really bad. But at the same time, I still feel like it's a lot to ask of someone to let them turn your home into a wedding venue. So, am I the jerk for refusing to let my roommate host her wedding at our apartment? Should I just suck it up and let her do it? Because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, this is a crazy ask in my opinion. What the crap is going on? This is like absolutely not okay in my opinion. I can understand trying to like, I don't know, save money on like a wedding venue, but doing this at your apartment seems really stupid. Like sure, someone's done it before and I'm sure other people have made it work, but if she was the only one living there, then sure, go for it. Have a wedding at your own apartment. That would be fantastic. But the fact that she's calling you selfish when you're like, I really don't feel comfortable with this, that's really an inconsiderate thing to say because in my opinion, the entire concept really should hinge on whether you're okay with it or not. And not just because Jess is like, oh, I want to save money. Like, I'm sure there's some local venue you could get married at and still have a great time, and it probably would not even cost that much. So yeah, your roommate is the jerk, and I don't think he did anything wrong. My entitled family disowned me for 15 years over parking tickets, claiming that because I went to jail for 2 weeks, all because I couldn't pay for them, that this meant they needed to disown me to teach me a lesson. And now after 15 years, they finally have tracked me down and are demanding that I let them back into my life. And at this point, I'm honestly so shocked that I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. I'm a 36-year-old male and I got into some trouble 15 years ago. I take all the responsibility for this. And even to this day, I carry all the shame, the guilt, and embarrassment for it as well. Also, and this might come up, this is not cultural or religion. It's just shame to the family name. The situation was when I was 19 and my ID was stolen and being used in another state. This created a situation where my driver's license was suspended nationwide. Somehow, any and all notifications from the other state never made it to me. I started doing all the necessary things I needed to do to try and fix the problem. I, however, had a couple tickets in my current state that I needed to pay, but I couldn't because I needed to pay my rent and keep my apartment. Also, at the time, my full-time job was having problems and was borderline shutting down. So to try and make ends meet, I was doing a lot of freelance work as well, which is, again, my fault. I knew the company was in trouble, but I was still holding out hope that things would get better. I was hoping that maybe if I had a couple more freelance jobs, I would be able to finally pay the tickets. But no, this was never the case. And the long story short of it is that I was arrested and spent 2 weeks in jail. This is not ideal, but I guess in the long run, it worked out for the best by clearing the tickets in my home state. However, my family felt otherwise, and I was completely disowned because of this. I lost everything and everyone. The only reason I still had my apartment was because I had enough to cover the rent, and the freelance work kept up. It took another 6 months, but I was finally able to get the other state to release my driver's license. And so I decided that since my family hated me, I didn't need them. And so a year later, I changed my last name, my phone number, and my email. My social media is locked down so tight that you would think I was hiding national security secrets. I was able to finish college and get settled into my career, and at this point, I'm happier than I've ever been. Well, fast forward to present day, and 2 weeks ago, there was a knock on my door, and guess what? It was my mom and dad. Reminder, it's been about 15 years, and I had not spoken a word to either of them. The only thing I could get out of my mouth was to say, "How did you find me, and what are you doing here?" My mom's response was to say, "We spent $5,000 on a private investigator, and finally, a search on Facebook with just your first name found you, and the private investigator confirmed that yes, it was you." I responded by saying, "You didn't answer my second question. What are you doing here?" My mom then said to me, "It's been 15 years. Looking at where you are, it seems that you've learned your lesson and you are succeeding. You've missed out on a lot of things." I then ended with, "Yes, I have learned my lesson. One of them is don't think anyone will ever help you or be understanding, even your family. And yes, I did succeed, and I did it entirely without you. Please leave and don't ever come back." I then shut the door in their face and I locked it, and I checked the back door and I closed all the curtains. I'm guessing they hung around for another 15 minutes, knocking and demanding to be let in. I then just went back to bed, turning the fan on high, and I went right back to sleep. I did some research and they were right. I have missed out on a lot. I have nieces and nephews, new brother and sister-in-laws, but the truth is I don't know any of them, and I don't think I need to. I live a very quiet life. I can count on 2 hands how many friends I actually have. A friend said I may have taken it too far and that I should have given them a chance, and if I didn't like what they had to say, then I could have told them to go away. I was hoping that this was going to be the end of it, but now they've taken to literally following my every move. And I will be completely honest, they are harmless, but just a real pain in the butt. But also, I've been messing with them with the help of my friend, and it's made the scenario just a little bit lighter and just a little bit more fun. Now, this past week, the way my days off fell, I had a 5-day stretch, so I decided to go to the city for a few days. I'm walking distance to the Amtrak station, and they followed me. So I kept my AirPods in the whole time, and I know they were trying to talk to me, but I ignored the entire time. People on the platform even were telling telling me that they were talking to me, and I said that I know, but I don't want to deal with them. The train eventually came and I got on and I left them behind, and man did I love that. It finally got to the point where I finally acknowledged them. They weren't going to go away, so we met at the park across from my apartment. And you know what? I didn't hold anything back. I told them this was the one and only time I was going to talk to them. I took a page from the Matlock series and I told them that I was their judge. I was their jury. And I then told them that as far as I was concerned, they were guilty of anything and everything. And all I was doing was hearing what they had to say before I walked away from them. I then asked them why after 15 years they're now demanding to be back in my life and why they made the decisions they did to disown me. They told me that I ruined the family name and that the shame I brought to the family was horrible and that the only way to make it right was to get rid of me. They said that recently my name has been coming up in conversations and that the family has grown with a lot of new people, that the brother and sister-in-laws are asking questions about who I am, that I have a niece who they think I would love and get along with, and the same for a nephew who was born last year, stating that now should be the time to fix things. They said that looking at my apartment and the life that I had must mean that I learned my lesson about being a better person and managing my life better. I finally cut them off and I told them that I couldn't stand to hear it anymore. I mean, I was at the point I could hear my heart beating in my ears. I told them that I did everything completely by myself. Nobody from that life exists anymore, not one person. That they just need to tell everyone the truth. That I was in jail for 2 weeks, and because of this, the decision was made to get rid of me. I told them that I did it all on my own, and that only one of my cousins was actually there for me, which is a cousin by marriage, by the way, which is why I changed my last name to theirs. I told them that to this day, I'm doing everything on my own, and I rely on nobody, and I don't need or want them in any way in my life. They made their decisions, and I'm making mine. I told them this will be the last time we talk, and that I will be going to see a lawyer to see if there's anything that can be done to keep them away from me, and that if they continue to follow me around or show up at my apartment, I would have them arrested for trespassing. After that, I went back home and I again locked everything down. I pulled the curtains and I've been crying ever since then, because right now I honestly do not know what to do. Oh my god, dude, this is awful. This really is such a sad situation, because clearly you had a really rough time and nobody stepped up to help you. Like, you had these tickets that you had to pay and you couldn't do it, and so because of that you went to jail. But if your family really cared about their name and like maintaining the family honor, they would have stepped up and helped you pay for it. Like, I'm sorry, there's no excuse here. They could have helped prevent this if they really didn't want you to go to jail. But after the fact, they wanted to be like, oh man, this is too embarrassing. Our son has ruined the family name. We need to cut him out of our lives. Like, that kind of crap is so disgusting. I just can't believe they did that to you. So in my opinion, I think you're completely justified. These people turned your back on you, and even now, after tracking you down to find you, they still don't understand that you didn't do anything wrong to the family. There's no lesson to be learned, because the only lesson the original poster learned is that his family does not have his back, especially his parents, who would rather kick them to the curb instead of help them in their time of need. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Today, I got revenge on a fellow coworker by doing to him what he did to me when it came down to marking down my time worked at the soccer games we referee for, resulting in my coworker eventually getting fired for breaking the rules. Here's what happened. Okay, to start things out, I'm 15 years old and I work as a soccer referee. I will normally arrive 10 to 15 minutes early to a game, which is plenty of time to check in players from both teams and make sure the field is in proper playing condition. One game that I showed up to, I was the assistant referee. My center ref, an 18-year-old, we'll call him Dave for the sake of the story, told me that all refs need to be there 30 minutes early to every single game. Now, I know this is not true, so I just stayed silent. We ref the game as usual and returned to where we put our stuff at the end of the game. Dave then told me that because I didn't arrive 30 minutes early, he would mark that I didn't show up, basically telling me that I wouldn't get paid for the game that we had just worked. But I complained that this was a rule that he made up. He then left the game without saying anything else, figuring that would be all. Now, as a side note, and I think this is very important, if you referee without any assistant referees, you get paid like $5 more, and I honestly think that was Dave's plan all along. So when I got home, I decided to enact my revenge plan. I made sure to sign up to be center referee at every game where Dave was being an assistant referee, and poor Dave showed up to his next game 15 minutes early, which is absolutely unacceptable. I said nothing the whole game, but only marked him absent, which means he wouldn't get paid. This went on for a week and a half until his paycheck came in, and he was about $120 off of what his total should have been. And I absolutely did make sure every game that Dave was less than 30 minutes early was marked down. Well, Dave emails one of the main referees who runs everything to see what the problem was. And one of the main referees, let's call him John, told Dave that he wasn't there, meaning that he wouldn't get paid. paid, Dave put 2 and 2 together and realized exactly what I did. Emails were then sent between Dave, John, and myself until John finally had the full story. Well, Dave was fired for making up rules and I got paid for the first game with Dave. So it goes to show you that you shouldn't take advantage of young people because sometimes it might backfire in a spectacular fashion. Dude, I am so proud of the original poster here. This honestly is crazy to me. First of all, that guy Dave absolutely was just trying to get paid more. He made up some stupid rule just to make it be like, oh yeah, you weren't here, so I get paid more. Thank you very much. And it's like, my God, how unfair is this? You are literally there working and doing exactly what you're supposed to do. And despite that, this guy's like, oh yeah, you didn't show up. So it's honestly so satisfying that you did the same thing to him over and over again. And on top of that, you did it silently. Like you just silently said, okay, I'm going to be the center referee and I'm going to mark you absent every time you're not 30 minutes early. Congratulations and have fun. So truly, the original poster is my hero. I am so proud of what they did. And honestly, they got back at Dave in a spectacular way. Am I the jerk for refusing to attend my sister's wedding or even giving her a gift after she invited my ex to come to the wedding, but specifically excluded my wife? Here's what's going on. Okay, so my sister is getting married in a few weeks. She recently sent out the official invites, and while I was included, my wife was not. When I asked about it, my sister told me the decision was intentional. She said she wants her wedding to be as peaceful as possible, and that she doesn't feel comfortable having my wife there. For a bit of context, my wife and sister have never gotten along particularly well. There's no major incident or explosive history, just mutual dislike and a few passive-aggressive exchanges over the years. That being said, my wife has always been respectful at family gatherings, and I've never seen her act out. What makes this worse, though, is that my ex-girlfriend, who I dated for 4 years before meeting my wife, is invited to the wedding. My sister remained friends with her after we broke up 6 years ago. I didn't love it, but I never made an issue of it. But even still, it's incredibly hurtful to see that my sister would rather include someone from my past, you know, someone I haven't spoken to in years, over the person I've chosen to build a life with. I told my sister that I wasn't comfortable attending under these circumstances, and that I wouldn't be sending a wedding gift either. I said if she doesn't recognize my wife as part of the family, then she shouldn't expect me to play along with the celebration as if everything's just completely fine. She accused me of being petty and trying to punish her for setting boundaries. And even my parents have since called me up to say that I'm overreacting and that I should just go and keep the peace. But to me, this feels like more than a disagreement. It feels like a fundamental lack of respect for my marriage. But the family seems to think I'm making it about me. So seriously, am I the jerk for refusing to attend the wedding, as well as declining to have a gift because of how my wife has been treated? Because right now I'm incredibly pissed off and I don't know what to do. Oh my gosh, this is so toxic. There's no way I would ever show up to that wedding. Like, I think the original poster is completely right. They should not be expected to show up just to like make the peace or whatever. That is so toxic, it's not even funny. And it's like, yeah, you know what? They might be right to some extent where you're like making it about you, because they're the ones that made it about your wife. They literally are trying to like push her away and be like, you're invited, but your wife isn't. And if I was in the original poster shoes, I would be like, okay, well, my wife and I are like a package deal, so if she's not going, then I'm not going. So no, you're not the jerk for refusing to go, because honestly, this is such a weird situation, and I don't blame you for stepping away in the slightest. Today, I found out that my partner has been lying to me for 2 years about being allergic to strawberries, because despite the fact that this is my favorite food of all time, and making the effort to cut it out of my diet just to protect her, I'm now learning that all of this was a complete lie, leaving me so confused and unsure of what to do next. Here's how it went down. Okay, so I've been with my partner for 2 years, and very early on, she told me that she was allergic to strawberries. Now, for me, strawberries are my favorite fruit. Like, genuinely, one of my few foods I both loved and could rely on when I was anxious and struggling to eat. Long story short, she told me that she's allergic and that it could be dangerous if I ate them and then kissed her. So I stopped immediately and completely. I cut out strawberries, anything strawberry flavored, even things like strawberry gum and candy, just to be safe. I didn't question it, because when someone says they have an allergy, you take that seriously. Well, I just found out recently that she isn't actually allergic to them at all, and instead she just doesn't like them. She didn't want me to eat them before kissing her because she simply doesn't like the taste. I know they're just strawberries, and I know this might seem small to some people, but it doesn't feel small to me. It feels like I made a real sacrifice, no matter how minor it might seem, simply out of care and concern. And she let me believe that for 2 whole years. Like, she knows how much I love strawberries. I don't think I could ever imagine asking someone to give up something they love just because I didn't like it, let alone lying to them to get them to do it. Didn't she ever sit there and feel even a little bad watching me crave strawberries and not eat them because of what she said? I just find it so selfish and odd, and at this point, I'm completely speechless. Oh man, your partner is completely toxic and super weird. Lying and saying that you're allergic to it when in reality you're not and you just don't like the taste taste of it. Like, that really is selfish, especially since it's your favorite food. Like, dude, that's so dumb. And I'm right there with you. If someone's like, I have a food allergy or something even close to that, I think to myself, okay, their throat's gonna close up if they eat this or get anywhere near it, so I'm gonna cut that out of my diet completely. So like, seriously, I don't blame you for being speechless and being like, wow, this is a huge betrayal of trust. Because this really is, in my opinion, a big red flag and something I would never ignore. Am I the jerk for not taking down some yard flamingos after my neighbors complained about it? Because they're demanding I get rid of them even though I have no intention of taking them down. Here's what's going on. I bought a house a couple years ago and I've been working on making it look nicer. I spent a lot of time redoing the front gardens and trying to make it neat and nice. A few weeks ago, I was at a greenhouse buying some plants for the garden and I saw 2 yard flamingos marked down on clearance. And it was right then I thought to myself, yes, these belong in my garden. They're not everybody's cup of tea, but I think they're a lot of fun. I set them up when I got home and a couple days later, my neighbor was knocking on my door. She was demanding that I take down my flamingos because they're extremely ugly and they're lowering the property value of the neighborhood. Well, I looked at her and I told her I'm not taking them down because I like them, and the property value isn't going to hurt because of 2 yard flamingos. I also don't live in a homeowners association, and as far as I'm aware, there are no town ordinances about yard flamingos. Well, this neighbor has posted pictures of my house, the street I live on, and a close-up of my flamingos in our town's Facebook group just to complain about them. And some people agreed that I should take them down. After that, another neighbor came over to tell me to get rid of them. Even my own mother also agreed that I should take them down to keep the peace with my neighbor. But here's the thing, I like them. I smile when I see them when I pull into the driveway, so I have no plans to take them down. So with that in mind, I need to know, am I the jerk for not taking down my yard flamingos after some neighbors complained? Because right now, I'm honestly super annoyed. Dude, your neighbors have to be like super bored. Like, who in their right mind would go up to you and be like, oh, you need to take down those yard flamingos. They're just completely lowering the property value of my house and the neighborhood. It's like, dude, no, they're not. They're literally hurting nobody. The best part about this story, in my opinion, is the fact that you don't live in a homeowners association, which, my God, those things can be nightmares. Because if you did live in one, I can guarantee you they would make you take that down like yesterday. So no, I honestly don't think you're the jerk at all. I think this is very harmless, and these people are just super bored because you're not hurting anybody, and honestly, it's not that big of a deal. Am I the jerk for moving someone else's birthday cake out of reach of a spoiled, rotten toddler who was literally sitting there destroying it one scoop of their hand at a time? Because right now, I'm being made to look like the bad guy, and I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so I was just at my girlfriend's mom's birthday party. We had ordered an expensive cake for her and split the cost 3 ways with her sisters. Her brother, who by the way never contributes to any of the shared presents, brought with him his spoiled 2-year-old kid. While everyone was singing happy birthday, the kid started sticking his hands into the cake and licking them, and picking off all the decorations. I looked around in shock, but her brother and his wife were just smiling at this, as if it was the absolute cutest thing ever, and everyone else was just totally unfazed and said nothing. So I bit my tongue and I didn't say anything either, but I did reach over and move the cake a few inches out of reach for the kid. Well, immediately the kid started thrashing around and screaming like crazy, and it was then that everyone glared at me like I was the most evil piece of garbage on earth for doing what I did, and rushed over to placate the kid. Aw, you poor thing, it's okay. They then turned around and gave him more cake. But you know what? I doubled down and I calmly and rationally said that what the kid was doing was incredibly unhygienic. It wasn't his birthday cake, and he's old enough to be taught to wait literally 1 minute until he gets a slice of cake, instead of destroying someone else's birthday cake and covering it with germs. Well, now I'm being made out to be a huge jerk for doing or saying this, and apparently I ruined the birthday party. Considering it's the entire family's reaction, it's making me start to question whether or not I am just a grumpy jerk or not. So truly, I need to know if I'm at fault here, because right now I don't know what to do. Oh man, this is so strange. Like, I just can't understand anyone who's like, oh my God, my kid should have been allowed to stick his hands in the cake. You know, the cake that you paid for. How dare you try and keep it away from him? Like, dude, what are you talking about right now? That's an expensive cake they bought, and the brother didn't even help pay for it. Like, are you kidding me? Why is nobody correcting this brat and being like, get your hands out of the cake, stand in the corner or something, some kind of punishment? Why are you suddenly the bad guy for being like, no, you can't do that? Because trust me, these people are going to be raising an absolute nightmare in like, let alone 4 years. Like, that kid's going to run that house pretty much the rest of their life if they don't do something right now. Like, just look at the way they acted when the kids started throwing a temper tantrum. They're like, oh, you poor little thing, here, have more cake that you destroyed. It's like, oh my God, are these people serious right now? Like, you can't do that. You're telling the kid that no, there's no consequences for destroying something that isn't yours. And that, dude, I can't. I literally can't. That is so annoying to me. So no, you're definitely not the jerk. You are not the crazy one here. And I think your extended family's at fault for the way that they're treating you. Am I the jerk for refusing to let someone else check my phone after a coworker falsely accused me of taking pictures of her? Because they say that if I have nothing to hide, then I should have no problem showing my photos. But I still said no, and now I'm incredibly pissed off, and I don't know what to do. Here's what happened. To start things out, this is a throwaway account. So this happened at work. I'm an 18-year-old male, and I was on my stuff normally, scrolling through my phone and watching YouTube videos, when a coworker suddenly accused me of taking pictures of her. And when she said that really caught me off guard. I then told her that I hadn't taken any photos and that I was just watching videos on YouTube. But she didn't believe me and started getting louder and kind of annoying, drawing attention from nearby coworkers. She then said to me that if I have nothing to hide, then I should just show her my photos. Luckily, the manager was nearby and came over because of the commotion. We then both explained our sides. The manager then said that if I wasn't hiding anything, then I could just show the last 2 photos on my phone to clear it up quickly. But here's the thing, I have a lot to hide that I didn't want to show. And this is nothing illegal, creepy, or weird, and definitely nothing involving her. But still, it's private stuff that I don't want anyone else seeing. So you know what? I refused. I told my manager I was willing to prove my innocence in other ways, but I didn't want to compromise my privacy. As a good faith gesture, I showed my phone's battery usage stats, which clearly show that I haven't used the camera app recently. I also suggested to check the security footage itself. After reviewing the footage, it showed my phone was pointed at the ground the entire time, and the angle wouldn't have even allowed me to take a picture of her. So I was completely cleared. But even so, a few of my coworkers later told me that I should have just shown the photos, because according to them, she had the right to know that she wasn't having her picture taken. But I told them that the evidence proved my innocence, and there was absolutely no need to show anything, specifically not to her, someone who I've never trusted. So am I the jerk for trying to maintain my privacy? Because right now I'm still very pissed off. Oh my gosh, I would lose my mind over this. There's no way I would sit down and take this for a second. You mean to tell me that your manager and a coworker, as well as other coworkers, are trying to be like, you should just show your photos. It's not that big of a deal. If you have nothing to hide, then why won't you show it? No, that's not how it works at all. You have a right to privacy. You're under no obligation, in my opinion, to show your phone to anybody. And I think even speaking generally, don't police officers need a warrant just to look through your phone? So where does this one coworker and everybody else get this weird authority all of a sudden to be hand over your phone, prove your innocence? Because quite literally, the security footage already cleared you out, with your phone's battery usage completely clearing you of any accusation, which by the way is a good idea. That's something anyone should hold on to, because I didn't think about that, and the original poster is really smart to do that. Because what's going on right now? Your coworker literally falsely accused you of something that you didn't do. And in my opinion, it doesn't matter what photos were in there that you didn't want them to see. The main takeaway that I really stand by is that it's nobody else's business and you have a right to privacy. So no, you are definitely not the jerk for taking a stand. My entitled roommate lies to all of us and gets away with not paying rent for literally 2 years. But after me and the rest of my roommates found out about this, we decided to get some revenge by ruining this guy's chance at ever getting his deposit back by throwing the most destructive and messy party we've ever had in our life. And I honestly don't feel bad about it in the slightest, because this guy absolutely deserved it. Here's how it went down. Okay, so I was renting a 6-bedroom house with 8 other people 2 years ago. We were all in our 20s, earning good money and partying very hard. The landlord didn't want to deal with us individually, so it was decided that one person had to be responsible for paying rent for all of us. Now, the person who paid the rent, who we will call Dave, also paid the initial deposit. Dave had rich parents, so he always had spare money to help out, and everyone agreed that he was a great bloke. Now, Dave promised to pay the rent for the last month for all of us if we cleaned the place up when the contract ended. Now, the house wasn't trash, but needed a deep cleaning and decorating and a few repairs to get the deposit back. And since we knew it was about $3,600 for 6 months of rent that was deposited, we just completely agreed with him. Unfortunately for Dave, he was away when the landlord came to do the initial inspection to let us know what needed to happen for the deposit to be returned. And in conversation, it turned out that the rent was being split 8 ways and not 9. Apparently, Dave had been living there rent-free for 2 years without any of us knowing. So we had a massive party over a long weekend, drinks were spilled, and a few fights broke out on more than one occasion. We didn't put anything out for the dustman for 2 weeks, cleaned absolutely nothing, and moved out the day before Dave got back. Literally 1 day before handover. Surprisingly though, he managed to get $400 of the deposit back and tried to make all of us pay the outstanding money that we owed him. He eventually gave up after threats of police involvement if he tried to pursue it. Well, fast forward and I found out a few years later that our actions totally wrecked his plan to put a deposit down on the house he was saving up for, which is even better because that money was literally ours and not for him to use how he pleases. Dude, how did Dave do that? Seriously, this guy has rich parents and he tries to sit there and be like, oh yeah, I'll take care of the rent,
guys, don't worry about it.
And he literally just sneaks past everybody for 2 years not paying any rent. Like, don't get me wrong, yeah, this guy's absolutely the jerk, but also that's really funny. I bet every single month this guy's trying to sweat silently and be like, okay, maybe they won't notice. Maybe this time they won't notice and just let me just keep getting away with this. And sure, you did get back at him, but I think in a way Dave did kind of win, because although he didn't get the house that he wanted, he did get away with like not paying rent for a long time. And even though that makes him a trash human being, I still think it's incredibly hilarious. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. An entitled scammer charges me over $1,000 for a deep cleaning bill that honestly makes no sense, as we left the venue that we rented out completely spotless. But after doing some digging, I realized that they were trying to scam us out of our money, which then caused me to get some revenge by ruining her business from the ground up. Here's what I did. Okay, so I rented a small event space for a surprise party. The place looked nice online, it was a decent price, and the host seemed polite enough until after the event. But out of nowhere, she hits me with a $1,200 deep cleaning bill, and she said that we left the place unusable, which was wild because we barely used the kitchen and left it cleaner than we found it. I asked for proof, and she sent blurry photos of trash that wasn't even ours. And while I did appeal through the booking platform, I was denied. And it was clear she was running a side hustle, scam a few hundred off each booking and hope no one fights too hard. So you know what? I did my own cleaning. I found her business on every platform that I could. Stuff like Yelp, Google, Facebook, even an event site. And I left detailed, calm, 1-star reviews with photos from our event showing how spotless the place was when we left. Well, it turns out that I wasn't the only one. My reviews picked up traction and others came forward and had the same scam. And within weeks, her rating dropped from nearly 5 stars all the way to under 3. Well, the last time I checked, she's now offering 50% off of all bookings. So I guess you could say someone's trying to clean up her own reputation. Okay, I am so glad you did this because I've always wanted to do this, but I've never had the courage to do it, so this was really cathartic. Especially a deep cleaning bill for over $1,000. Like, are you kidding me right now? What is going on right now? No cleaning bill should ever be that much. Did you mop the floors with liquid gold instead of like water and soap? Like, what's going on right now? But I think the fact that it really was a scam must have been like so validating, because now it's like vindication that no, it's not just you, and yes, they've done this to other people. So good for you for going where it counts and hitting them online, because that's a reputation that absolutely will take a long time for them to clean up. Am I the jerk for not letting my neighbor's kid ruin my lawn in the name of imagination, as he wanted to pretend to be a pirate and bury stuff in my yard? Because once I shut it down, the mom of this kid basically guilt-tripped me into thinking that I ruined his imagination. And at this point, I really don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. So I live in a quiet suburban neighborhood with your standard backyard, some grass, a few old trees, and a weathered shed. It's nothing fancy, but I just try to keep it tidy. I'm on polite but not close terms with most neighbors, and we do wave and sometimes chat about the weather, but that's about it. There's a family 2 doors down with a boy who's maybe 9 or 10 years old, and lately he's gone full pirate mode. I mean fully committed. He's got an eye patch, a cardboard sword, and yelling, "Ye be cursed," to the squirrels. And at first it honestly was pretty wholesome. That is until I started noticing small holes in my yard, just little ones near the fence, and I honestly assumed it was raccoons. But then the holes got bigger. One morning I went out and found the ground beneath my shed completely torn up, with clumps of grass tossed around and a map pinned to the tree with a stick. Eventually I caught him out there mid-dig. I asked him what he was doing, and he straight up told me, "Yarg, I'm hiding my treasure. No one must know. This is the perfect hiding spot." I then told him calmly, "Hey, this is my yard. You can't dig here." He got a little huffy but ran off, and I figured that was the end of it, but no. The next day there was a new hole and it was bigger. There was even a tin lunchbox half buried behind the shed. So I dig it up and it's full of Pokemon cards, fake jewels, toy coins, and a few crumpled $5 bills. I bring it to his mom and I explain what's going on. But guess what? She immediately gets defensive. No apology, but just a heavy sigh and says, "Well, he's just using his imagination. I think it's sweet." I told her I don't mind the creativity, but just not in my yard. She rolled her eyes and said, "Can't you just let him have this? It's not like your grass is that nice anyways." I said as politely as possible that I didn't want holes being dug on my property by someone else's kid. I then handed over the lunchbox and then I just left. Well, that night she sends me a long text message telling me I humiliated her son, crushed his dreams, and created an environment where children can't be safe being children. She said he cried for over an hour and now thinks I'm the villain of his story, which is literally what she said to me. Well, you know what? I didn't reply. And listen, I get it. He's a kid. I didn't yell, I didn't shame him, and I even gave the stuff back. But I'm not thrilled about my yard being turned into a sandbox and getting insulted for not being okay with it. So am I the jerk jerk for drawing a line and not entertaining a pirate storyline that involved my yard getting completely wrecked. Because right now, I'm still pretty pissed off. No, you're not the jerk. This mom is so weird. She's trying to be like, wow, you created a really hostile environment. My kid can't be a kid anymore. And the only way he can be a kid is by digging up your yard because that's ugly. Thanks. It's like, dude, if you really want your kid to be digging holes and like putting treasure in there or whatever's going on, then use your own yard, lady. Why do you gotta use mine? Like, your stupid kid can still be creative and all this stuff, but don't like dig up my yard. Like, seriously? And I guarantee you this is just the parent being like, I don't want to deal with this, but also I'm not going to tell my kid no. And instead of correcting their kid and being like, hey, stay off of other people's yard, she tries to be like, oh, this is your fault. I would honestly hate living next to someone like that because you can bet this is like not the last thing they're going to complain about. Am I the jerk for losing my temper with my friend after they added bone broth to a soup that my girlfriend ate as he was convinced that she was not a real vegetarian? But after my girlfriend was violently ill in the bathroom, my entire friend group is completely in shambles after I laid into this guy. And at this point, I'm honestly not sure what to do. Okay, so my girlfriend and I are ovo-lacto-vegetarian, and we have been for approximately 6 months or so because she developed a sudden involuntary negative reaction to meat and some animal products. At best, she'll spit out the offending bite and rinse her mouth out, and at worst, she'll get sick almost immediately. She's gone to her primary care and is seeing a therapist, but we have yet to know why she reacts this way. Any meat, from mammal to poultry to fish, triggers this reaction in her if she consumes it. Even sufficiently meaty vegan products that imitate the taste and texture of meat can also set her off too. I opted to cut meat out of my diet as well, considering I do most of the cooking, and it's easier to make us both the same meals rather than worry about cross-contamination. I've grown to prefer some of the meatless alternatives of our normal fare, and seeing her unabashedly enjoy my food makes me feel warm and content. Now, one of the worst ingredients that triggers a reaction in her is bone broth. I used to drink and cook with it beforehand, but nowadays I use mushroom broth, and I don't notice much of a difference except when I'm shopping, as it tends to be in stock at my local grocery store even when the meat alternatives are not. Sometimes I even switch out instant ramen seasoning for a mushroom bouillon base with dried veggies if I'm feeling lazy and I want something quick. So anyways, we have a shared friend who we will call Brian, who invites us and a few others, including another friend who we will call Charlie, over to their place for the occasional dinner and a hangout. He's a much better cook than I am, and he invited us over for group chat recently, even offering to send us a few of his recipes that he's considering making just to run it by us and make sure that he could accommodate. Well, my girlfriend and I looked over the recipes that Brian sent us, and a minestrone recipe caught our eye, especially because it's been soup weather and I hadn't had proper minestrone in ages. We told him what we thought, and he admitted it's what he would have chosen too. He sent a time and date to the group chat and all seemed well. The day rolls around and we arrived a little later than everyone else. We get settled in and we serve ourselves some soup before sitting at the table. My girlfriend only had a single spoonful before immediately making a beeline for the bathroom. As soon as the bathroom door slammed shut, Charlie shrunk in his seat and admitted to adding bone broth to the minestrone, all while Brian was greeting us as he felt it needed the flavor, and he didn't think that my girlfriend was really vegetarian. Well, this is where I might be the jerk in this story, because I laid into Charlie, calling him, among other things, a complete idiot for tampering with food that someone else made, and a piece of garbage for doing it knowing full and well it was supposed to be vegetarian, not to mention for also making my girlfriend sick. I told him I never wanted to see his face again, and then I left for home with my girlfriend as soon as she got out of the bathroom and rinsed out her mouth. Now, as a result, the group chat is in shambles. My girlfriend says that she appreciates me standing up for her, but she feels bad for causing a scene. So seriously, am I at fault for causing a scene or like doing something wrong? Because right now I'm still incredibly upset by this situation. Dude, the way Charlie acted is insane. So let me get this straight. Someone who's in this friend group who knows that the girlfriend has violent reactions to meat-based products decides, oh, don't worry about it, I'll just add some bone broth in there and it'll be fine. Anyway, she's just a fake vegetarian as it is, no big deal. It's like, dude, what are you doing? This is so much more than someone just not wanting to eat meat. This is literally a physical response. We're talking like throwing up and like completely being done for the day if they eat anything meat-based. So like, why would Charlie step up and do that? Like, why on earth would you be like, oh, you're a fake vegetarian and I'm gonna prove it? Like, did he think he was gonna try and prove something? Because this is crazy if that's the fact. And I can imagine the original poster and like how stressed out they are with like all the food they try to eat and all the food they're trying to avoid as well. So to have someone literally just completely betray your trust like that, like that's weird. Especially the part about putting that bone broth in something someone else made. Like if you wanted the flavor right, why not put it in your own bowl? Like why would you do that to the whole thing and not say anything? Like that's crazy, and in my opinion, there's just no good excuse for that. My toxic coworker basically said she's gonna punch me in the face one day, all because I was just trying to do my job. So I decided to quit on the spot, but now after thinking about it, I'm having second thoughts, and I'm wondering if I overreacted in this situation. Here's how it went down. Okay, to start things out, I want to apologize if this is long, but I would like to give as much context as possible. I started working as a dietary aid cook at an adult healthcare facility at the end of January. On the third day of training, an aide who got hired the same day as me but started training sooner was introduced to me. She seemed a little standoffish, but that's okay, we were both new, so I totally understood. My trainer and I finished our meal and had a little time before serving. The aide had already swept the kitchen, so I offered to mop, trying to be helpful. I hadn't realized that she was on the phone, so when I didn't get a clear yes or no, I just went ahead and I grabbed the mop. Now, I didn't get far before she came up to me and said, "Not to sound like a jerk or anything, but when I say I want to do something, I want to do it, because I have a certain way that I want it done." So I put the mop in the bucket and I said, "Okay, no problem. Here you go." I went outside to smoke a cigarette with my trainer and let her know I messed up by trying to help. Both of us were a little confused by it, but just kind of shrugged it off. A little later, she was taking apart the coffee pots, so I went to see how they do it. She gave me a sort of WTF look and ignored me, so I just walked away. She was still on her phone call, by the way, which is against company policy to be on your phone. At this point, I could tell we were probably not going to get along, which is totally fine. Not everyone's your cup of tea. Now, usually the aide goes out about an hour before serving to set up napkins, silverware, and cups for the residents, and about 5 minutes before serving goes out to fill the cups with the residents' drinks. For some reason, she decided to set up and pour drinks at the same time. This is a big no-no because we, the cooks, cannot serve anyone who doesn't have drinks, so we were having to wait on her. We have to push our meal cart to 3 different pods. The first is pod A, the second is pod C, and the third is pod B. We were on the first pod when a CNA from C pod came over asking about the tables being set up. I let her know the aide was a little behind, but would be there shortly. The aide then decides to yell out, "I'm coming and you can get rid of that attitude real quick." The CNA just turned around and went back to her pod as I went back to the steam table to finish passing plates. After dinner, the cooks break down the steam table, clean it and the pans, then have to wait for the aide to go pick up the dishes and bring them back. And this is supposed to happen in stages. The first being pod A. They bring dishes to the kitchen where the cook will wash them and put them away, while the aide goes to C pod for their dishes and so on. Well, she went and collected all 3 pods. I was prepared to wash the dishes, so I had the dishwasher trays set up in the order that I preferred. But I guess this pissed her off, I don't know. She then said that this got in the way of her trying to do her job. But I just ignored her and I started putting the dishes that she washed away. There were plates that still had food and oil stains on them from dinner, so I put them back to be rewashed. She then snapped at me and said, "What in the F is your problem? You've had an attitude all night, trying to tell me how to do my job." But I told her I don't have a problem. The plates are simply still dirty. She tried to say they weren't dirty, but they were just stained. But no, girl, there's still food on them. They're dirty. She then calls me the B word and then threatens to leave, which I tell her, "Okay, go ahead and leave. No one is forcing you to stay here." As soon as the interaction ended, I messaged the assistant manager and I let her know exactly what happened. The next day, my manager talked to me and said the aide had apologized and said that she would to me as well, but she never did. And her behavior stayed the same. She was and is on her phone, even in video calls while walking around the pods, which I'm pretty sure is illegal as residents were able to see her calls. She was having inappropriate conversations for work, yelling and not being able to get her work done because she was distracted. She would come in not wearing approved outfits, wouldn't wear a hairnet, always on the phone, wouldn't finish her duties, and then would leave not saying a word, and I would have to do everything by myself. So you know what? I just reported the incident. But it finally came to head last week when I was cooking with sugar and corn syrup at the stove, and she pushed a trash can into me. I am so glad I saw it coming and was able to push it out of the way, because I can only imagine what would have happened had that boiling pot fallen and spilled all over me. Well, neither manager took it seriously, so I thought to myself, okay, fine. The next night she put boiling water into a bin and then put the plates in the bin. Again, I'm glad I saw her using boiling water because I could have been severely burned. And yet again, the managers just didn't care. So on Sunday, we were working together and I had just served C pod and left for B pod when a CNA came to ask about dessert. I said it was ice cream and I asked if there was some in the kitchenette freezer. He said no, so I took him to the walk-in freezer and grabbed him some ice cream. As I started to serve, the aide then came up to me and asked, "Did you give so-and-so ice cream?" And I said, "Yes, I did." He said there wasn't any. The aide then said, "Well, you shouldn't have done that. Those ice creams are for specific people." But here's the thing, no, they're actually not. I then said I gave him the right ice cream. The aide then said to me, "Well, I had it on my cart." So I responded by saying, "Okay, well, they didn't have it, and if you had done your job, I would not have had to." She started talking, so I interrupted her and I tell her to just go back to the kitchen and do your job because I'm not doing this. As she walked away, she said, "You're gonna get punched in the face someday." And one of the CNAs there said, "You're a better woman than me," and for some reason reason the aide thought that she was talking to her, so she yelled out, and she knows exactly why. Now, when I heard this, I just breathed through it. I finished serving, I got my steam table to the kitchen, and immediately went to call the boss. Well, I got no answer twice. So my next bet was the assistant manager, and she answered immediately. I told her the situation and said that I'm leaving. I won't stay in an environment where I felt unsafe. And to that, she said that she was on the way. I went to the kitchen, cleaned the steam table and my area, clocked out, and I finally left. I met the manager as I was pulling out, and I gave her the list of people who witnessed what happened, and then I just went home. I then found out the aide decided to leave too, once she realized I was gone, leaving the manager to do everything. I also reached out to Human Resources to let her know what happened. She apologized to me and then asked for a meeting the next day. So I go into work, and of course the same aide is there. And it was then that I let my assistant manager know that if she wasn't fired, then I was quitting. The aide did minor things to inconvenience me throughout the day. When it was time to wash dishes, she just dumped them on the dishwasher tray, all scattered and crazy. I just snapped a picture and sent it to my fiance, and I laughed about how effing childish she was. I went to the meeting with my manager in HR, and it took less than 3 minutes. I explained what happened, and she said to me, when I spoke to the aide about this, I told her that no matter how she is feeling, she can't act that way or say these things. I then interrupted her and I said, this conversation needs to go no further. I quit. Good luck with the mess. And after that, I walked out. I walked through the kitchen, I clocked out, and I left. My assistant manager messaged me immediately and said, what happened? You were in there for like 30 seconds. But I told her, look, I told you I was quitting if nothing happened. So seriously, did I overreact for quitting on the spot? Because right now, I'm not sure if I made a mistake. Dude, your coworker's so toxic. There's no way I would ever want to work with them. First of all, it's pretty obvious they definitely said, yeah, we're gonna punch you in the face. Like, you don't just say like, oh man, one day you're gonna get punched in the face without some kind of plan of actually punching that person in the face. I think that's kind of a given. But also, this coworker had an attitude from day one. Like, you weren't bothering her at all. You were just doing your job. And I love the one time she came in there and she's like, oh, I can do it. And by the way, get rid of that attitude. And it's like, dude, nobody has an attitude except for you. I don't know what's going on right now, but you might want to figure that out at home, because that's some like classic projection where she's like, I don't have an attitude, you do. And it's like, dude, clearly you're pissed off at something and I can't help that. And it's also not my fault. So hey, best of luck with that in therapy or whatever's going on, but that doesn't involve me at all. So for me, my reaction is kind of twofold. For one, good for you for getting away from these people, because human resources and your managers are completely useless. But also, walking out after a coworker literally said they're gonna punch you in the face, even if they said it in a vague way, which is still absolutely them saying they're gonna punch you, like that is absolutely necessary for your own safety. Like, I'm sorry, there's just no good excuse for letting that slide, because human resources and your managers completely failed you. And if they were better at their jobs, they would have ensured that this lady would have been kicked out of there immediately. Like, in my opinion, you just can't let threats like that slide, even for a second, because this could end in disaster. Like, seriously, what were they thinking letting that slide? Especially with you having witnesses. Like, this should have been a done deal, man. So no, I don't think you overreacted. I think you did the right thing. And the fact that your managers and human resources let you down entirely, in my opinion, is absolutely unacceptable. My entitled landlord refuses to allow me to move out early, despite the fact that his apartment that he rented to me is full of cockroaches. So I decided to get some revenge on this guy by suing him into oblivion, which will eventually lead him into financial ruin and ruining his business entirely. And I'm honestly feeling so satisfied about this, and I can't wait for it all to go down. Here's what happened. Okay, to begin with, I'm a lawyer. I know the laws in my city pretty well. So when I moved into a new apartment and learned that I had a cockroach infestation, I started planning. And you know what? I decided to move. I asked the landlord of my building to enter into a mutual release form so we could just go our ways amicably. I mentioned the cockroaches and my frequent maintenance requests, and I even offered to find them a new tenant for them. I mean, I figured it's the best for the both of us, right? Well, they waited for about a month to even respond. And during that time, I had already contacted multiple lawyers who found a legal loophole for me to break my lease clean and easy. Not only that, I pay the lawyers $700 to do it, they file the lawsuit, the landlord then has to pay my attorney fees and back the rent, and I get my $700 back and then some on top of it, which is really nice. So when the landlord finally got back to me on my mutual release proposal, which would have greatly benefited them, he said to me, no, only if you pay this exorbitant several $1,000 break lease clause. And when he said this, I couldn't help but smile. You absolute idiots, you morons. If I ask for something nicely, just give it to me the first time, because I already have 6 evil backup plans. Anyways, I responded back and I said, I do not agree to the break lease clause. And the property manager wrote back with something condescending, saying something like, I'll let the landlord know your disapproval. So unbeknownst to the landlord, I send the money to the attorney and now it's all going down. Because why would I pay thousands of dollars to to break the lease when it's literally free to sue this guy. Like, what an idiot. So not only will they get a surprise lawsuit, they'll also lose out on months of rent, plus the back rent that they owe me, and they won't get rent from the new tenant that I could have and would have found them. I'll leave the place as gross as I found it, and I will be driving into the sunset while they scramble and realize they played themselves. Oh, on top of that, I also called the city building inspectors, and I helped them investigate in the meantime. So now the landlord will get a big fine and a formal violation by the city, which they have to disclose by law to future tenants. So the chances of them even finding a new tenant who would agree to live with cockroaches will be very, very low, unless they drastically reduce the rent, but either way, I win. You may have been able to mislead me about the cockroaches and the cleanliness of the place, but you won't be able to fool the next person. So I guess you should have done the mutual release form, huh? Hope you learned your lesson, because I am not the one to mess with. So that's my story of my petty little revenge against my slumlord. Stay safe and stay smart, and always play chess and not checkers. Dude, this original poster is my hero. Like, seriously. This guy swooped in like Batman and he's like, oh, you don't want to sign the mutual release proposal, huh? Welcome to the next 6 months of your life where I win a lawsuit, get all my money back, and then you've got to deal with it probably forever. Because I've been there with landlords before. Dude, let me tell you, some people suck at managing their properties. Like, seriously, I had one guy who literally did nothing about like a spider infestation where they just didn't do anything and those things were everywhere. And I don't know about you, but like, I don't like spiders. Like, just thinking about it makes my skin crawl. So I can only imagine what the original poster went through, because cockroaches are right up there, dude. So yeah, this guy's my hero, and hopefully when I grow up, I get to be just like this guy, because he is absolutely amazing. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Today, I nearly got scammed by 2 senior citizens who claimed that I slammed into their car, even though I definitely did not. They even went as far as demanding that I give them $20 for their troubles, or else they would sue me, which resulted in one of the weirdest conversations I've probably ever had in my entire life. Here's how it went down. Okay, so I stopped by a gas station today before work, and after I pulled into a parking spot and got out of my car, these 2 old dudes, maybe in their 60s, got out of their car and claimed that I slammed into their car, then pointed at a giant scrape on my front bumper that I got in another accident. I noticed the dude had a huge dent that was obviously already there, and when I pointed out the damage on both cars was obviously already there, he claimed, well, yeah, but you made my dent worse. Now, at this point, I really thought he might be joking, because it just seems so ridiculous, because I was 99% sure I definitely did not hit his car. He then started guilting me, saying stuff like, well, if it was an expensive car, you'd have a problem. I could try to be nice. I just want you to know that what you did was wrong. And this was all before his friends started saying stuff like, you should at least slide him $20. It's the right thing to do. I felt like I was being scammed, so I just said, have a good day, and I went inside the store. After about a minute, the friend came in and started bothering me in line, saying, you should give him the $20. It's the least you can do. But I still ignored him, and I walked up to the cashier. The cashier asked if I needed anything, and the dude said, maybe we need the footage because she just slammed into our car. I felt the whole car rattle. The cashier asked if it was true, and I said, no, he's claiming old damage just happened when it didn't. The dude then said to me, well, you should just give us $20 or we'll sue you. So I said, okay, go ahead and sue me. To which he said something under his breath about calling the cops and just walked away and waited by their car. And they didn't even bother me when I left. The part that makes me feel like I could be the jerk is the possibility that maybe I actually did scrape his car, and because I instantly felt like I was being messed with, so I didn't really take it seriously, which would have been a huge jerk move if I somehow did hit his car. But I think I would have noticed if I slammed into it so hard that he would have felt it rattle. The car was also some crap box 90s sedan that was covered in dents and rust and had no grille. If he wanted to genuinely look at the footage or go through my insurance, we could have talked it out. But the instant guilting and leaving without asking for the footage or my name or anything else makes me feel like they were definitely scammers. So truly, did I avoid getting scammed, or am I the jerk who hit and ran 2 senior citizens? Because right now, I seriously don't know what to do. Okay, those guys were 100% trying to scam you. Like, there's absolutely no question in my mind. Like, seriously, look at the way they were acting. They tried to be like, oh, give us $20. It's the right thing to do. But it's like, dude, you didn't do anything. Because your hunch in this situation is absolutely right. If you hit his car so hard that it would have rattled his car, then guess what? It would have rattled your car too. Because I bet these guys do this to literally anybody they can get in contact with, and that is super awful behavior. Am I the jerk for refusing to split the cost of a rental car after an extra person had joined into our plans even though we didn't intend on bringing them along? Because after I said no, I got forced out of the group, and at this point, I don't know what to do. Here's what happened. About a week ago, my brother's friend, let's call him Adam, mentioned that he was going on a business trip trip to a big city. He made it clear it wasn't a vacation and said he didn't want anyone tagging along. Well, on New Year's, I went to this city with some friends. My brother, who we will call Eli, couldn't come because of work, though I encouraged him to take a break. But later, I noticed he seemed interested in the city when Adam brought it up again, so I decided to plan another trip, and this time I would be including Eli. And well, he was excited. He took time off and asked if he could bring a couple friends as well. So I agreed and we started planning, and I was going to drive us in my car. We had dates and hotels set, and Adam was not a part of the plan at all. Well, out of nowhere, Eli's other friend, who we will call Marcus, told me that Adam was coming and needed a ride. My car didn't have space, and instead of splitting rides, they suggested that we rent a larger car and split the cost, which would be about $1,000 for 5 days just to make room for Adam, who wasn't even vacationing with us. Well, when they said this, I said no. I didn't think it was fair to take on that extra cost just to accommodate someone who wasn't part of our group, and I made that very clear. The next day, I found out there was a group chat I wasn't even in. Then Marcus messaged me, calling me immature, and Eli texted me seconds later, asking if I was okay with not going. So in the end, I didn't back out, but instead I got pushed out of the trip I planned. So now I'm pretty upset, especially since my own brother was part of it. I didn't make it about money or control. I just didn't want to foot the bill for someone else's business trip. So seriously, am I the jerk for refusing to split the rental and then getting excluded from the trip I organized? Because right now I'm seriously not sure what to do. Oh man, I can confidently say that if I was in the original poster's shoes, I would be very annoyed by this. You mean to tell me that my brother basically kicked me out of this group trip all because they wanted to include Adam, who literally was not even a part of these original plans? Are you kidding me right now? That's so stupid. And splitting the cost for $1,000 car, dude, get an Uber or something. What in the world is happening? Why is getting a larger car even a part of the equation for a trip that you planned? So this is all super silly in my opinion. I think Marcus, Eli, and Adam are all incredibly immature, and I don't think you really missed out on much by backing out and essentially being forced out of this stupid trip. This next story came from the Am I the Jerk subreddit. Check the links in the description if you would like to submit your own story. Am I the jerk for wanting my brother-in-law to move out after he's literally overstayed his welcome for over a year? Because right now my husband is saying that his brother-in-law can stay forever if it means he finds a better job. And at this point, I feel like I'm losing my mind and I don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. Okay, so my brother-in-law moved in with us 3 months after my husband and I got married. My husband offered for him to stay with us because he wanted him to have a place to stay while he went to college in our state. Now, I agreed, assuming that my brother-in-law would go back to his parents a couple of months after college was over, but it's now been a year since he's graduated and he is still living with us. He has a remote part-time job and is trying to look for a better full-time job, but is having a hard time doing that. He's okay about cleaning up after himself, and if he's asked, he will help out around the house. He doesn't contribute financially at all, and he also now has a steady girlfriend who now stays over on the weekends. I kind of feel like the jerk, but I want my house to myself now and not feel like an apartment of some kind. My husband and I have never lived alone together except for maybe 3 months. I also want that for us. I want more privacy. I want to be able to spend time alone together before having kids. I talked to my husband about if he was going to talk to his brother about moving out, and he said that his brother can stay with us for however long it takes for him to get a good job, even if it means forever. My brother-in-law has a very niche degree, and in this economy, I doubt he will ever find a job that can sustain him the way my husband wants him to be. He is also looking for jobs specifically in that field. Anyways, this got us into a little argument, and I think it's the only child energy in me. So am I being the jerk for wanting my brother-in-law to move out with his parents and work remotely from there so that I could have my house and privacy back? I do feel like I am a bit of a jerk because my brother-in-law is a nice kid, but at this point, I'm very frustrated and I just don't know what to do. Okay, honestly, a year is way too long. Your husband is completely out of line assuming that this is okay. Even half a year for me is just way too long. I love my privacy and I love my own space, but also I'm compassionate towards family and I totally get it. Sometimes people fall on hard times and they've got to figure their stuff out. But over a year of staying there and just completely overstaying your welcome is not my version of compassion. That's wearing out your welcome very quickly in my opinion. So no, you're not the jerk for wanting him to move out, and I think your husband definitely needs to adjust his attitude towards that, because the fact that he's letting that happen in my opinion is just not okay. My idiotic roommate decided to snort the candy I hid in my drawer in my room, as she thought it was something illegal that she could use to have some kind of trip, if you know what I mean. And I'm honestly still blown away that I had to explain any of this to the paramedics that showed up after she freaked out from getting a nosebleed. Here's how it went down. Okay, let me start by saying that I'm not doing any substances, nor have I ever done so. This story happened when I was back in university, and it still gives me chuckles to this day. Now, during university, I had the chance to do a few months at another university university. It was far enough away that commuting wasn't an option, so the person in charge of the program put me in touch with a student who was transferring the other way, and we basically agreed to switch living situations. We cleared it with their prospective roommates and everyone was fine with it. Well, when I arrived, I pretty quickly found out that I didn't like one of the people living there. Let's call this person Karen for the sake of the story. Now, the feeling was mutual, so I basically kept myself busy since it was only a few months. She was the type who got into everyone's business, especially if they didn't want her to. Now, here's a fun fact about me that will be important later on. I love licorice, and you know what? The stronger the better. It's a very specific taste. Some years before all this happened, I figured out how to get my fix without eating a ton of candy, and I would do that by buying ammonium chloride powder, which is also known as salmiak. This, by the way, is also used to make bread crispy, so you can find it in specialized baking stores and online. It is a strong shot, however, it is mildly acidic. I usually just eat what sticks to the tip of my finger, and that's the scale to keep in mind. Now, this is a fine, odorless white powder, and I kept my rations in small 10-gram plastic bags. And if you think you've guessed where this is going, you are probably right. I know Karen saw me eat some once in the beginning of my stay because she asked about it and I told her it was candy and that she wouldn't like it. Fast forward and there are about 2 weeks left and I come back to the place and I notice an ambulance outside. Sure enough, the door to the apartment is open and 2 paramedics are trying to help Karen stop a nosebleed of horrifying proportions. As soon as she saw me, she started screaming that it was my fault. Paramedics asked me if I know anything about what's going on because Karen claimed that it came out of the blue. So I asked her specifically if she went into my room, found and took my bag of candy and then tried to sniff it. And you know what? She hesitantly admitted it. I told her, look, it's not that kind of substance, you idiot. It's salmiak. I tell her this and then I tell the paramedics specifically the chemical name. In the end, she had to go to the emergency room because they weren't sure she hadn't burned a hole in her nasal wall with that stunt. Now, she hadn't, but according to my exchange buddy, she couldn't smell anything for almost 6 months afterwards. And even to this day, she still blames me for all of it going wrong. Oh my gosh, your roommate's an idiot. Seriously, Karen's a moron. She saw a mysterious white powder and said, ooh, I can get this for free. Let's do this. It's like, dude, what are you doing? You have to be a special kind of stupid to do something like that. And then the fact that she tried to be like, this is your fault. It's like, oh yeah, you got me. I'm the reason you sniffed the mysterious white powder you found in my room. Like, that's just hilariously dumb and it's so astonishing to me that she seriously tried to blame this on you. My coworker is incredibly rude and a massive prima donna to everybody around them. So I decided to put them in their place by humiliating them in front of the entire office. Here's how I did it. Okay, so I'm not very proud of this one, but my god did it work. I used to run a very large team at a very well-known entity publishing articles. I managed the writers, the fact checkers, and the editors, and everyone generally worked really well together. However, there was one writer who was unbearably a prima donna. To be fair, this writer generally did decent work, but could be a sloppy writer and was also a truly horrible person to everyone, berating and trying to belittle anyone that dared question the writer's work. And even the best writer in the world benefits from a good editor, someone who's going to read what you actually write. It's really hard to check your own writing because you read it as you meant to write it. Now, I spoke to the writer directly numerous times about the appalling behavior. After about the 4th time, I made it clear that team players got priority and bullies got sent to the back of the line and reported to human resources. About 3 days later, the writer submits an article for checking. The initial editor goes back to clarify some things and then gets stomped on hard. So I go to the editor and I say, I'll take this one. And then I put it on my desk at the back of the pile. 30 minutes later, I see the writer yelling at the initial editor, but they respond by saying, sorry, but the original poster's handling it. The writer takes one step over to my desk, stops, and then goes right back to their desk. I finish the pile of work except the writer's piece, timing it just to coincide with a senior management meeting. 2 hours have now gone by before I start on the piece. I send it back to the writer asking for clarification, and then I start work on another piece in the interim, and this writer has to resubmit everything. I finally start on it again, and then send it back again asking for clarification in the next sentence. And then after I start working on another piece, the writer resubmits a second time. And you know what? Right after that, I send it back again, asking for more clarification on the next sentence. And of course, I'm sending a message to the writer's entire team each time, and each time the team gets to see the writer try to explain what they were trying to say. This lasted most of the afternoon as I went over that piece with a fine-tooth comb, requesting clarification for literally every word in the story, showing in painstaking detail why what they had written didn't work. Well, the writer eventually got the hint, and while the writer was never exactly a sunbeam to work with, we never had to deal with the childish blow-ups ever again. Okay, I love this story because sometimes this is literally what it takes. Sometimes it literally takes a manager or someone higher than than them that they can't chew out to show them that their bad attitude is not acceptable. And the way the original poster did this, in my opinion, is so satisfying because this particular kind of coworker is a nightmare to deal with, and I feel so sorry for anyone who got on their bad side. Today, I did something a bit crazy by going above and beyond for nearly a year to prove that this one guy who was flirting with me is just a cheating scum. Here's how I did it. Okay, I want to start off by saying that I know what I did was crazy, but I had an abundance of free time then and I wanted justice. For some backstory, I was going through a very hard breakup. I was with my ex from before online dating and social media blew up. I mean, I was in uncharted waters. Prince Charming came in from my very large workplace where there were about 5,000 workers, and he wanted to be there for me and he was hot. I fell for his love bombing, and before the first real date with the new guy, he eventually disappeared. I mean, he even blocked me on Facebook. We didn't get into a fight or anything like that, so it was really odd. I used a friend's Facebook to see his account, and his girlfriend tagged him in a post. He blocked me so I wouldn't see it. And you know what? I ended up talking to the girlfriend. Well, he was not nice to me for outing him, and that was it. Well, half a year passes, and guess what? He wants me again. He then starts messaging me again, trying to act like a brand new guy. On his social media, he appears single and said that they broke up, but I know for a fact he lied. She saw that we followed each other and then confronted me, and I was completely honest with her. I let her know that nothing happened, but he was trying. And you know what? He lost his mind on me and said lots of very unkind things to me. Fast forward to another half a year later, and I hear they are still dating and he is still cheating. And trust me, work gossip doesn't disappoint at such a large workplace. I created a fake Instagram. I start building up with followers of hers and his, and I'm posting pictures with captions that lead right back to him. I mean, I've been building this Instagram account for months. When the time was right and the girlfriend posted a picture in his bedroom, I commented from the fake account that the picture is in my boyfriend's bedroom. She then messaged me to send her screenshots that I photoshopped between us. And you know what? I'd like to think that I saved this woman. And even to this day, he still tries messaging me every once in a while, even though he doesn't know that I'm the reason he finally got taken down. Okay, I like this for so many reasons, but most of all, the original poster refused to give up until they finally got the revenge that this guy absolutely deserved, and I love that so much. Like seriously, this guy is a cheating scumbag. He deserved to get exposed. So I love the way you did it, and honestly, I love the vigilance, even with the fake Instagram account. Like that, in my opinion, is absolutely brilliant. My coworker walked to my cubicle and interrupted me while I was on a work call, saying that I was being too loud. And right now, I'm kind of feeling humiliated, and I feel like they could have talked to me after my call to let me know that I was being too loud. And at this point, I'm wondering if I might be the jerk. Here's how it went down. Okay, so I work a hybrid position. I'm in the office twice a week, and 3 days a week I'm at home. Admittedly, I can be loud while I'm on a Teams meeting without really knowing it. However, this is something I'm being more mindful of and trying to practice. I was on a work call yesterday that lasted about 8 minutes, and about a few minutes in, a coworker that sits on the opposite side of my cubicle walked around and began tapping on the wall of my cubicle and was asking me if I was on a call. I had my headset on, as I only wear my headset when I'm on a call, and Teams was open with my camera on. Now, I have never seen or even spoken to this coworker. I ended up giving her a weird look because I was shocked that someone was interrupting me when I was pretty obviously on a call. I nodded and she said, "You're being too loud, I'm sorry," and then walked away. And I'm not gonna lie, it made me feel pretty humiliated. I haven't had anyone at my job tell me that I'm too loud when I'm talking on a Teams or phone call. I can absolutely understand her frustration. I understand it's distracting if others are speaking loudly. I would have better understood if she had walked over to my cubicle after I got off the call and had told me that I was being too loud and to please keep it down. I felt like it was inappropriate to approach me and say this to me during my call, and that it should have been done afterwards. So seriously, am I the jerk? Because at this point, I don't know how to read the situation. Okay, in my opinion, I definitely think the original poster is the jerk here. They self-admitted that yes, they know they're loud, and chances are the coworker who's never spoken to you before only came over there to say you're being loud because, guess what? You were being too loud. So no, they're not the jerk for saying something, but if anything, you're being the jerk for not doing something to like mitigate the problem. My entitled parents demand that I pay $15,000 to my brother so that his postgraduate education can be paid for. But after I said I couldn't do that, they then came back at me and said that any money they were saving up for my future wedding was now going to my brother and his schooling. And right now, I feel like I'm being punished for not giving in to my parents' demands, and at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Okay, so I've been financially independent since I graduated college. I worked practically full-time while studying, recently paid off my student loans on my own, and just started saving to buy a home. I didn't apply to grad school because I couldn't afford it, and our parents made it pretty clear growing up that we needed to stay stand on our own after high school. My brother's a 22-year-old male and he is honestly a genius. He worked really hard in school, got a full academic ride to a great state school, and graduated with honors. And I'm so proud of him. The problem now is that he recently got into an extremely prestigious grad school that would open a lot of doors for him. He was hoping for scholarships or a paid internship to cover most of it, but it's not enough. And now he's facing tuition and housing costs in one of the most expensive cities in the country. Well, my parents asked if I could help out and suggested I contribute around $15,000 to get him through the first year. They said they would match it and then he would take out loans for the rest. But you know what? I said no. I've been working for over a decade on my own goals, and I'm just now starting to save for a house. I don't feel comfortable putting that on hold, especially when I had to turn down opportunities because there was no help available to me. During the conversation, my mom got frustrated and said that they would be using my other fund to help him instead. I asked what she meant, and she said they had set aside about $25,000 for me back when I was in college, and apparently this was meant to be used for a future wedding. I was completely blindsided. I had no idea this fund existed. I asked why I wasn't told about it when I was considering grad school, or even now while I'm saving for a home. She said it was always intended for a wedding, not for school or property, and since I haven't needed it, as I'm not engaged or in a relationship, they decided to give it to my brother because he has more immediate need. And you know what? I'm not gonna lie, I was pissed off. I never got a chance to make a case for how I could have used that money, and now it's just being handed over to somebody else. I told them I felt hurt and I felt left out, but my mom said I was being unfair and that the money was never promised, and if I didn't want it for a wedding, then it made sense to use it for something meaningful. My brother told me he didn't know about the wedding fund either, and he understands why I would be upset, but said that he didn't ask for it. He just wants to go to school and he thought that we were all trying to support each other. I know my brother worked hard and isn't trying to take anything from me, but I can't help but feel like my parents are punishing me for being practical, because right now I seriously don't know what to do. Okay, I'm gonna be completely honest with you, I don't think there ever was a fund. I think your parents are 100% lying to you. This is all just a wild guess, by the way. I have no evidence to back this up. But from the sounds of it, it seems like they only brought up this mysterious $25,000 as a way of guilt-tripping you. They want you to feel bad because they don't want to pay for your brother's schooling. Like, that's all this reads to me, because like, honestly, why would they bring that up in the first place? It really seems like such a low blow as just a means to, like, I don't know, guilt trip you and be like, oh, okay, I guess if you're not gonna do that, we'll have to use our other fund to pay for it. You know, the one that was meant for your wedding. Oops, I guess that's not gonna go anywhere. It's like, dude, you're so full of crap, it's not even funny. I don't believe that for a second. Like, all of that comes off as incredibly petty and just their way of like manipulating the situation, because from the sounds of it, they didn't help you with a single thing when it comes to school. You worked your butt off, you can fend for yourself, and you literally have done everything you can to make things work. So for your mom to come back at you and be like, oh well, I guess you won't have any money for your wedding, like, that's really dumb. I don't understand that, and I think she's just saying that to try and manipulate you. Because at the end of the day, your brother can absolutely take out student loans, and that is definitely not your problem in the slightest. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. An entitled boomer gets incredibly angry at me for eating my lunch in my car, as she literally makes a scene over the dumbest reason I've ever heard in my life. Here's what happened. Okay, somebody please tell me I'm not crazy. I went to the library this morning and across the street is a grocery store. I did a little shopping and then I got a salad from the bar to eat for lunch. It had rained all morning, so I decided to eat in my car since the outside tables were all wet and there were no other seating options. So I'm listening to the classical music station, quietly playing, eating my salad in my car, which is parked on a side street next to the library at a parking meter that I paid for that has about an hour left on it. Now, it's important to note that this is an upscale area of the city, and the library is about a half block down from where the residential area starts. I believe I was eating the salad in a normal way, with a fork and everything, and I was looking at my phone. I drive a newer model Jeep Compass, very boring car. No odd bumper stickers or anything like that. The engine was off and there were lots of empty spaces on the street. So with all that in mind, tell me why not one, not two, but three boomers walked by, stopped to stare at me in my car for like minutes at a time before finally shuffling off. The third one then actually tapped on my window, and when I rolled it down a little exacerbated, I asked if I could help her. She looked at me and said, "What are you doing?" I said to her, "Well, I'm eating my lunch." She then looked at me and said, "They have tables right over there, you know." I looked at her confused and I said, "Yeah, but they're wet." She then gestured wildly and vaguely and said, "I live right up there. Now, at this point, I stopped responding and I rolled up the window in her face because it's like, okay, yeah, cool story, lady. I'm gonna go ahead and finish my salad. She then let out a huff and stomped off. And I'm honestly still very confused about this entire interaction. Good lord, this is like the prime example of, listen, just mind your own business and do your own thing. And guess what? Eating lunch in your car is not that big of a deal. I used to do that all the time in my old job and it was completely fine. So I can't imagine someone walking up and being like, there's tables right over there, you know. Like, so what? I want to sit in my car where it has air conditioning, lady. Get away from me. Because even if those tables were dried off and like completely usable, I still would probably not want to eat outside. Am I the jerk for arguing with a couple that was literally trying to cut the line to get in front of me, all because they had a kid? Because right now I still feel pretty dumb by letting them through, and at this point I'm not sure if I handle this correctly. Here's what happened. I'm a 21-year-old female and I just had my 6:45 in the morning flight canceled. When we got the news, I sprinted across the airport to customer service so I could have the best chance of being booked on the next soonest flight. Transavia employees made a specific line for the customers on our flight, and I then waited until 9:30 in the morning for a representative to even show up. Right as I'm next in line, a couple and their son, I'm guessing maybe around 5 years old, ask if they can go in front of me because they have a kid. Now, I got really frustrated because I've been waiting for roughly 3 hours at this point. Flights were booking up by the minute because the airport is smaller and the routes are limited. So in my mind, letting them cut was not only annoying, but also risking my ability to get home on the same day. Their kid was sleeping in his stroller, so it wasn't like they needed to get tickets handled so that they could calm him down or anything. I've babysat and been a nanny for plenty of kids, so I can empathize with managing tough situations with them around. I think if it was something like, oh, we have to go change his diaper, do you mind if we go ahead so we can clean him faster? I would have been more understanding. However, in this scenario, the couple was simply using his existence as justification. While I go back and forth on the idea of having kids of my own someday, I have always felt that parents make the choice to have kids, and with that, they should willingly take on any challenges that come with it. I know that lots of children behavior like crying on a plane is out of their control, but I guess in this situation, it felt like they were purposefully inconveniencing others, all due to their lifestyle choices. After spending maybe 10 to 15 seconds arguing over this matter, the mother then turns to the other traveler behind me and starts talking in French about my attitude. And for reference, we were previously speaking in English, which made me even more upset because I'm fluent in French, and I felt she was just being rude at that point. So I responded in French that I understood everything she said. Finally, she just walked ahead of me and I didn't feel like making a scene at that point. The flight the airline rebooked me on ended up being 5 days later, which is just crazy. So I had to pay an additional $200 to get a flight home today, or pay for 4 nights of a hotel since the airline would only pay for 1. At the end of the day, I know it's just a couple of minutes wasted to let them in front of me, so maybe I am the jerk here. At the same time, I don't feel like the couple was entirely justified for cutting the line of 50 people in front of them. So seriously, am I at fault here? Because right now I'm still pretty pissed off. Oh man, no, you're not the jerk at all, but there's no way I would have ever let them walk in front of me. I don't care how long that argument's gonna take, I don't care what their attitude is. If I've been waiting in line for 3 hours, they're not just disrespecting me, but they're disrespecting the 50 plus people behind me who literally are waiting as well. And you hit the nail on the head, why should they get priority just for having a kid? Like, that's not my fault, that's your fault. You're the one with the kid, not me. Why should I have to go out of my way just to make your life better? Like, that literally does not make any sense to me. So no, you're definitely not the jerk, but I know if I was in your shoes, I absolutely would have said something the second they walked in front of me, because I really think that kind of behavior is absolutely undefendable. This next story came from the Am I the Jerk subreddit. Check the links in the description if you would like to submit your own story. Am I the jerk for stealing my friend's crush, even though he was cheating on his actual girlfriend at the time? Because right now, my entire friend group has turned against me, and at this point, I don't know what to do. I'm a 21-year-old male, and I've been going to the same coffee place for the past 2 years with my friend, who's also 21, and for the sake of the story, I'll call him Michael. About a year ago, a new barista started working there. She was cute, but very quiet, and seemed kind of unfriendly, so neither of us really approached her at first, but Michael immediately said that he had a crush on her. After about 7 months, she and Michael finally talked a bit, exchanged IDs, and flirted. A week later, she found out Michael had lied to her about something, and even to this day, I'm still not exactly sure what that was, and told him she wasn't interested in a relationship. Well, Michael got really upset and started trying to make her jealous, bring other girls to the cafe, trash-talking her to others, saying that she had a mustache or she was too short, but all the while privately admitting that he still liked her. He asked her out again a couple of times, but got rejected each time. Eventually, our mutual friend, who we will call Josh, started working at the same cafe and became friends with her. She later left that job to work at a different cafe, and Josh kept in touch with her. He started inviting inviting us to hang out with her, and then the three of us, me, Josh, and the girl, became very close. Michael was around in the first couple of months, but after he confessed again that he still liked her, she cut him off and asked us not to bring him around if she was there. Over time, I started visiting her at her new job after work. At first, we didn't talk much, but gradually we became friends, and eventually I started developing feelings for her. She had strong boundaries, so I never made a move or acted flirty because I didn't want her to back away. Eventually, Josh told me she mentioned liking me, and that gave me the courage to start spending more time with her one-on-one. We got closer, and then at Josh's girlfriend's birthday party, she got a bit drunk, rested her head on my shoulder, and I gently held her hand. That night when I dropped her off, Josh called me and said that I was a piece of garbage for doing that to Michael, and that I should have shoved her hand away. I told him that I genuinely liked her and that I felt it was right between us. The next day, she and I talked about everything, and officially, we became a couple. Well, now all my friends say that I broke the bro code and that I should break up with her. But here's the thing. Michael has been in a relationship with a girl who we will call Tanya for like 2 years, including the entire time he was pursuing this other girl. Not only that, but he was also cheating on Tanya with another classmate during that time. Now he's saying that this girl was different and that he would have broken up with both girls if she gave him a chance. And now apparently I'm the bad guy and all my friends are siding with him. So am I the jerk for dating a friend my friend used to like, even though he was never in an exclusive thing with her and was already in 2 other relationships at the time? Because right now I'm incredibly frustrated. Dude, I can confidently say that your friends all completely suck. Seriously, look at these people. They've sided with a guy who's literally in 2 other relationships, who's a massive cheater and honestly doesn't have his ducks in a row, over the guy who's trying to be honest and just date someone that he likes. You didn't steal anything from Michael. Michael's just a weirdo who doesn't know what he wants, who is cheating on his girlfriend and would happily cheat on his girlfriend again with this barista if given the chance. Like, dude, what the heck is going on right now? How can anybody in their right mind be like, oh yeah, you're in the wrong. Michael should be allowed to cheat on whoever he wants. No, Michael needs better friends to call him out on his garbage. Like, what's going on right now? So no, you're definitely not the jerk. You need better friends, like across the board. These people are not good people in my opinion, and you could do way better than this. My parents think that my boyfriend is a loser, despite the fact that he makes good money and loves me a lot. And at this point, I seriously don't know how to break through to them, and at this point, I don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. Okay, I have an amazing relationship with a guy I met on a dating app 4 years ago. Our relationship has been happy, exciting, yet also beautiful and challenging, as we've gone through a lot with each other. He has supported me so much, and we get along really well. However, the only downside has been my parents. They disapprove of my boyfriend because he isn't as well educated as me and thinks he doesn't make enough money. He has a bachelor's degree and I'm graduating med school next year. He works for a financial company making about $100,000 a year. They think he never makes enough money and his job sucks and it's not prestigious enough. They think that he's not good enough and that I can do better. Now they have met him and they think it's a joke, that our relationship will fade and I'll get over this phase of my life. As of now, I don't share anything about me and my boyfriend with them because it's just not worth the pain. For some background, I'm in an upper middle class, currently in med school, and my parents are doctors. I feel very privileged because they're helping me financially get through school. Once I graduate though, I plan to be financially independent. They want me to be with someone better, someone who is a doctor or someone of that educational status, prestige, and earning potential. I feel so ambivalent because I love my parents and I love my boyfriend, and I don't want to break up with my boyfriend. He is not a loser. He is a kind, hardworking man who loves me. I hate that I'm disappointing my parents. Why can't they respect someone I care so deeply about? What should I do? Oh man, your parents have a weird perception of what is and is not a good relationship. This guy's making 6 figures a year and they're like, it's not good enough. He's not doing enough for our child. It's like, dude, what do you want? This guy's doing just fine. He cares about the original poster. He sounds like a good boyfriend as far as I can tell. So for them to be like, oh, you need better than this. This is not nearly good enough for us. We're rich. We're doctors. Like, honestly, this sounds really like stuck up in my opinion. So just so you have like some kind of peace of mind, your boyfriend sounds like a great person and I'm so sorry your parents don't see that because their opinion of him is absolutely incorrect. Am I the jerk for planning to move out of my best friend's house after she decided to move her partner in without consulting me first? Because right now she's claiming I'm punishing her for her decisions, and at this point I'm honestly so confused. Here's what's going on. I'm 25 years old and I've lived with my best friend since 2019. We've also been best friends since 2014. Now I've always been at home more because I work from home and my best friend is in the military and travels often. We have a dog whose care mostly fell to me because of the fact that she would be gone often, sometimes just for a weekend and sometimes for weeks. Most recently, she just got a promotion that would allow her to be at home for more regular hours, typically from 9 to 5. Now, backstory aside, a couple of weeks ago, she turned to me and asked how I felt about her moving her partner of less than 2 months in with us. She said it would really help us with the bills, and the partner has a dog that could play with mine. Now, not wanting to seem unsupportive right away, I told her I would think on it, completely expecting this to be revisited and thoroughly discussed between us. Well, this past weekend, her partner informed me that she would be back and forth between our house and her own because she is taking leave from her job and needs my best friend's car to do things throughout the day. And this was obviously very jarring to me, especially as someone who is very careful and particular about my personal space. And this was the first thing I'd heard since my best friend initially asked about it. Now, here's the thing. My friend is in love and she is happy and ready to move to the next level with this girl. I don't want to make her feel wrong for doing something just for her, but I pay bills there too. And the complete disregard of me in the decision to move the partner in kinda made me view my relationship with my best friend completely differently. We have been friends since middle school, and we have been through it all together. But whenever she gets into a relationship, she suddenly starts being extremely inconsiderate. We have talked about this many times, and she always says that she'll do better. And you know what? This was my final straw. I decided the best thing I could do was formulate a plan to move into a space of my own and allow those two to live out their fantasies together. However, this has been met with some resistance, and my best friend feels that I'm punishing her for her decision to essentially move her partner in without actually talking to me about it. So truly, am I actually in the wrong here? I thought this was genuinely the most peaceful decision that could be made, because right now I'm honestly questioning everything. Okay, the way your best friend basically accelerated all of this super fast is not okay in my opinion. She went from literally saying, okay, are you okay with my partner moving in, to then saying, hey, it's happening, and oh, oops, you're making me feel guilty about it. It's like, dude, what are you talking about? You're the one doing this. I'm just saying that I'll move out to give you guys space. So for her to essentially say, no, stop it, you're making me feel guilty, you're punishing me for my decisions. It's like, dude, I can't control how you feel. I don't know what you want from me. I'm literally trying to do what's best for me and for you and your partner. What do you want from me? Because seriously, this is not okay. She just accelerated this so fast, it didn't even give you a chance to decide on anything. And that, in my opinion, is completely uncalled for. Am I overreacting for thinking that a guy on my bus was acting creepy, as he was just a little too close to me while I was riding home? Here's how it went down. Okay, for a bit of context, I'm a 16-year-old girl, and the guy was maybe 45 or 50 years old. I got to go home from school 2 hours early, which means I took a bus at a time I don't usually do. I don't know how important this is for understanding, but I sat facing the back of the bus, and the seat closest to me faced the other side of the aisle. When I got on, there was no one in that seat. But after a few stops, a man got on and sat down in that seat I just mentioned. So far, everything is okay. For more context, above me is a small open window, which extends about a quarter over the man's seat. He decided to close it at some point, which would be fine if he didn't lean halfway over my seat, and thus me to do it. I was weirded out and put away my phone to be more aware of my surroundings after that, especially because after the window thing, I felt like he was staring at me. At first, I thought he might have said something, which I wouldn't have heard due to wearing headphones, because the way he was looking at me felt somewhat expectant, as if he was waiting for a reaction. He didn't repeat his potential comment though, so I brushed it off as just my imagination. Over the next 10 minutes or so, he kept shooting me glances and sometimes downright watching me until I looked up at him directly, and even that didn't make him stop a few times. Now we're at the point where the next stop is mine. It's about 7 minutes until we're there, and I decide to press the stop button already so I don't forget. The guy's hands were somewhere I didn't pay attention to because they were definitely not on the pole where the button was. When I reached out toward the pole though, he did the same. There was zero reason for him to need to steady himself, so I was somehow creeped out by this, but then kind of just brushed it off as bad timing. He continued to stare at me a few times until I finally stood up. And I will be honest, I was making plans for what I would do if he were to follow me. I mean, that is how bad the vibe was that I was getting from this guy. He thankfully didn't get off at my stop though, which makes the reaching for the pole even weirder and less likely to be poor timing in my opinion. So I get off the bus totally relieved when the door closes and he is still in his seat. I walk down the length of the bus and I decide to shoot one last glance at the guy when I'm around the height where our seats were, kind of just to see whether or not he's still there, I guess. And you know what? I honestly wish I didn't, because that man was literally half pressed against the glass staring at me. I'm talking wide-eyed, glaring with a hand against the window. Needless to say, I was pretty freaked out after that, and I told my parents all about it later. In retrospect, I am totally unsure whether I'm just being dramatic and making an elephant out of a mouse, but even just thinking about it now gives me goosebumps. So truly, did I overreact in this situation? Was this truly not that big of a deal? What should I do? Okay, holy crap, no, this guy is absolutely a weirdo. He knew exactly what he was doing the entire time. There's There's no ambiguity here. This guy's a weirdo, grade A freak, and there's no reason for you to ever brush that kind of stuff off. So hopefully the next time you're able to really pay attention to your surroundings while also giving out verbal declarations of, hey, get away from me. Especially with him staring at you and getting close to you, like that is super weird. There's no excuse for that. Because that behavior is very creepy and you should not have to deal with that in the slightest. Our psycho mailman would literally pee in a bottle and then throw it at people that he didn't like, resulting in one brave kid from my neighborhood getting revenge in a way that this mailman will truly never forget. Here's what happened. Okay, so this one happened a few years ago. Our mail carrier changed and the new guy, who we will call Dave, was an absolute jerk. He would literally walk on flower beds and was really rude to people. But the real kicker was Dave would pee in a bottle, and if he was in a bad mood, that bottle would be thrown in someone's garden. And if you tell him to throw the bottle in the trash, he would throw it at you. Dave was the son of the postmaster, who we will call Bob, an older guy of the boys will be boys mindset, and best friends with the local sheriff, who we will call Steve. If you talk to Bob about his son, it would be nothing but excuses. He's a foster kid, he's had a hard life, and on and on. If you went to Steve, then he would just say, oh, boys will be boys, even though Dave is in his 30s. Or he would say that Postmaster Bob is dealing with it personally. Well, one day in the middle of summer, the neighborhood kids got to see Mailman Dave being his usual sunny self. It seems like Dave was mean to them too. The kids were out playing with their super soakers, and one of them had this really high-powered thing which sent the water a good 10 feet or more. And the kid who owned it, who we will call Orion, was a really good shot. It was a lovely day, the sun was out, and I'm out back putting out dinner. Suddenly, there's this blood-curdling scream from Dave, and the whole neighborhood comes running to see what happened. It turns out that Orion had loaded his super soaker with one of Dave's pee bottles, and topped it off with a can of Red Bull. So now Dave was covered in this disgusting, sticky pee and sugar mess, which was starting to stink to high heaven. One of my neighbors offered to let Dave use her shower, but he ran off to another house, grabbed the hose, and turns it on himself. So now Dave is sticky, pee-soaked, and wet. He ditched everything in the street and eventually just ran off. Steve and Bob went walking the street that afternoon, and we'd all not seen anything, of course, and Bob had the bright idea of asking Orion, who told him exactly what we all thought of Dave and how he was acting, and it was done in the way only a bright-eyed 12-year-old truly can do. Bob and Steve then cornered Orion's dad. Is this your son? Do you know what he did? Well, without missing a beat, Orion's dad fired back, well, Sheriff Steve, don't you always say boys will be boys? We never saw Dave again, but Orion's birthday party was huge that year. And honestly, all I can say is God bless that kid, because Dave absolutely deserved it. Oh my God, it blows my mind that people like Dave actually exist in the world. Like, think about it, this guy was throwing his own urine at people. That's seriously like some crazy behavior, and he absolutely should be in jail for that. But on the other end of that, I know plenty of kids who would have the bravery to step up and be like, oh, okay, you want to throw urine at everybody in the neighborhood? Guess what? I'm gonna do the same thing to you. Oh, and by the way, it's your own that you threw at us earlier. Like, seriously, that's so gross. So yeah, this story is great because Dave absolutely deserved to get shut down. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My parents absolutely hate my boyfriend no matter what I say or do. And despite the fact that he is perfect for me, they still think he's mistreating me and that I should get away from him. And at this point, I'm honestly so frustrated that I just don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. Okay, so I'm 25 years old and he's 28. I have some mental health issues and I moved back home around 4 years ago. I work full time and I pay my bills, but I don't pay rent. I do have some debt which really concerns me. Before I met him, I was almost full time watching my nephew and spending time with my parents. I had some boyfriends in between, but it just didn't pan out. Now, I love my boyfriend, who we will call Jay for the sake of the story. He truly is like finding a missing piece, but we did have an argument which resulted in a breakup and me crying. He then apologized and we agreed to part ways. 3 days later, I said no and we got back together. Since then, he has been in therapy and we've been talking and communicating a ton, and the both of us truly want to marry each other. He's in school to work on HVAC and I'm taking another license so that I can make more money. Now, my parents hated me getting back with him, citing every reason one could think of, going as far as telling me that he's toxic and mistreating me, even though he isn't. I do sometimes drive and we do a more 50-50 relationship where he opens every door for me and cooks for me and all over really just spoils me. My mom even hated his Christmas present to me, but they were all very special and well thought out gifts. She is mad it wasn't expensive things, which I just don't care about. And I don't believe they've ever liked any of my boyfriends, to be completely honest. Easter came along and I made plans for Jay and I to go to the aquarium. Flash forward and my mom's pissed I didn't spend it at home. I stayed the night at Jay's place and I come home to be yelled at and told that they just care and that he's mistreating me and how ungodly staying the night is. But I had a great time time filled with lots of laughing and learning more about Jay. We've been together about 7 months, and there's been nothing toxic or manipulative going on as they tell me, but at the end of the day, I'm not paying rent, so their say goes. I feel like they don't trust me and don't want me with him, and ultimately, I feel like I'm failing them. What should I do? So from the sounds of it, it doesn't seem like your boyfriend's that bad at all. Based on what you've described and you've shared with everybody, he sounds like a pretty good boyfriend, so I'm kind of confused as to why your parents don't like him. In fact, it really seems like they just don't want you to date at all, which is like really annoying. Like, are you kidding me right now? The original poster is 25. You can't expect them to stay single forever and live under your roof, right? So this all sounds super weird, and hopefully this is able to get worked out in some kind of way, because it does sound like you have a good relationship. And I would hate to have your parents ruin that all because they have some weird bias that they refuse to explain. My entitled psycho coworker gets a healthy taste of karma after she decides to mouth off at the wrong time, resulting in a patient slapping her right in the face. Here's what happened. Okay, many years ago, I worked as a contract nursing assistant for a hospital. One of my jobs as agency CNA was I had to manage a room called the restraint-free room. Mostly it was because I was a big, tall dude, but also because I was agency, and the other CNAs hated it, and the full-timers had their clique, and agency just wasn't in that. The reason it was called the restraint-free room is because the facility had strict rules on restraints and only used them as absolute last resort, preferring to put them all in a small room with someone watching them and redirecting them. But sometimes you'd get someone in there that just pissed off the nurses. Well, one night I got one of these guys. He did not want to wear his CPAP machine, which by the way helps him with his sleep apnea, and he probably needs it. But he hates it because it's bulky, the straps suck, and he could not toss and turn in it without waking up. That, plus being stuck in a hospital for 2 weekends, and being stove up just drove him nuts. In my training as a CNA, I was always told a patient can deny treatment and go AMA except in certain cases, like they are in danger to themselves or others, or they can't make decisions because of some legal or medical condition. Being of somewhat right mind after talking with him, he had the right to not wear the thing or have his concerns about it addressed. I did try to convince him to wear it. It is my job after all. But when he got agitated, I said he had a right to do it, and I mentioned that I'd have to chart this. Well, he agreed and we were cool. And honestly, this should have been the end of it, but trust me, it gets way worse. I chart that the patient is refusing to wear their CPAP, and a nurse is informed. Most places I had worked, it was no problem. Someone with a higher pay grade can handle it or ignore it. No need for it to be a big deal. But then a nurse practitioner, the nurse in charge, and the floor nurse I was under enter the room at like 4 in the morning and flick the lights on. And the nurse practitioner is pissed off. For those unaware of the culture of medicine, think of it like hierarchies of tribes, each with its own hierarchy and shared language. In nursing, a nurse practitioner is only rivaled by an anesthesia nurse, even outranking nurse managers, almost on par with lesser doctors, but not in the doctor tribe. And they have enormous autonomy and perks. At the absolute bottom are nursing assistants. While essential, we are expendable, and we do the dirtiest work and spend the most time with patients. She then starts berating the floor nurse, then looking in my direction. These people, meaning nursing assistants, which also means she's talking to me, are supposed to make sure the patient is wearing the CPAP. It is their job, and your job is to make sure they do this. Are you just sitting here being lazy? Now, all of this is in front of the patient, of course, along with another poor patient that just kept falling out of bed, waking him up. I then look at her and I say, ma'am, you are a nurse practitioner with years of experience and education. If you could show me your technique to do this, I'd be much in your debt. After all, CNA school is only a month-long school, so would you mind? The nurse practitioner then grabs the CPAP and goes over. Here, Mr. Whatever, you need this. And then she tries to put it on him. It was then that he smacks her straight in the face. And I think that slap could be heard all the way to the nurse's station. The nurse practitioner's glasses went flying. In a flurry of activity, code called and a squad of other CNAs and a nurse with a large dose of emergency tranquilizer all march into this room. They poke him in the butt and he's on a 5-point restraint and out of my room because, well, of course, there's no restraints in the restraint-free room. I turn to the nurse practitioner after the chaos. I say to her, if one of your RNs wrote non-compliant, you would not say they are lazy. You would respect their assessment. Why should this be different for a CNA? When I chart this, I don't do this because I want to lay out. I do it to inform the proper people while making sure my patient is safe and that I am safe. She then looked up, still probably seeing stars. She nodded and then apologized. And you know what? I never had crap from her the rest of my tenure there, and even had me fix a laptop that she had with a simple repair. So it goes to show you that not all revenge has to be malicious, and that sometimes it can be educational. Okay, as someone who's worked in the healthcare industry at some point in their life, my God, I love this story. Seriously, this is so satisfying because I've dealt with people like this and it is so obnoxious, dude. Literally, you're just trying to do your job and they freak out and try to be like, oh my God, I can't believe you. You're not doing your job. You're just sitting here being lazy. And it's like, dude, I don't know what to tell you. Obviously, I can't scream at you because I'll probably lose my job. So I'm going to be professional and let the patient take care of it themselves. And I know for a fact, I would have gone to the storage closet right after that, or some kind of private space, and laughed my butt off after she got slapped in the face. Because if this nurse practitioner is anything like some of the snobby coworkers I've dealt with, then my God, does she deserve that smack right in the jaw. So honestly, good for you for getting this revenge. Like, this really is so funny to me because this lady absolutely deserved it. And anybody who calls their coworkers lazy all because you're now forced to do your job, in my opinion, is the actual lazy person in the office and nobody else. Am I the jerk for cutting off my parents after they treated me like garbage for literally my entire childhood? Because now, after years of being no contact and after going through therapy, I reached out to my mom and she's asking me to forgive her for the way she treated me. And at this point, I'm not sure what to do. Here's what's going on. Okay, I want to say that I kind of know the answer to this one, but there is something not sitting right with me. Let's get started. I'm the son of two emotionally immature parents. My dad was a total dictator and totally acted like it. He was violent, angry, and vindictive. And mom used me as her parent, literally reversing the roles. And the only constant growing up was instability. So loads of awful situations, locked constantly in a state of freeze and do nothing else. Fortunately, I got an education, I left the country I came from, and I made myself a new life in Norway. I'm super happy with that, and I'm now in therapy, and I've been going on for that for about 3 years now, and I'm working on all the issues I had growing up. I'm not dependent on them anymore, and that has affected our relationship. Their role has become less and less, and I haven't had a relationship with my parents for the past 4 years. In addition, our relationship got a no-contact status as I had a period of depression that made me do therapy. Now, for the past 3 years, I've been working through all the baggage they left me, and because of that, I had a tough time healing. I've been getting better and lately thought that I should tell them, but I honestly felt like they deserve an explanation. Well, my mom at least. So I sent her a long message explaining my reasons for estrangement and how I'm not mad at her, but I can't act like nothing happened, and let her use me as her emotional regulator. I told her that she and my dad have not been nice to me and have given me major issues that I've been working through these past years. Her response was basically to say, well, can't you just forgive me? Okay, I've not been nice to you, but we've lived together for 22 years. Can't you at least forgive me for that? I don't need that much from you. Can't you just send me like 3 voicemails in a year so I can feel good? I mean, she's not asking for too much, but I don't see this woman as someone who has been kind to me. She has done her best, I get it, and I have empathy for it, but I can't act like nothing has happened. I feel bad that she is so dependent on me, but I don't want a babysitter. So truly, am I the jerk for denying such a small ask of her? Because right now, I seriously am not sure what to do. No, I don't think you're the jerk at all. This sounds really tricky. Like, I can't imagine going through that growing up and then being asked to, like, I don't know, pick up the pieces of a relationship that you never had. Because just my, like, basic instinct here, it doesn't seem like she's actually sorry. Like, if anything, she's just trying to be like, oh, just forgive me, it's fine, just like, don't worry about it. We've lived together for 22 years, can't you just forgive me and get over it? But it's like, lady, why don't you apologize to your son? Like, you're completely missing the point of all of this. This would have been a great opportunity for her to be like, I understand and I'm sorry for what I did. But instead, she's like, oh, just forgive me, I want voicemail so I can feel good. Like, clearly, she's just completely not changed at all, and she still expects, like, the same things from you. So no, you're not the jerk. I completely understand where you're coming from, because it sounds like your mom and your dad have just not grown in the slightest. My entitled in-laws refused to tell me until after the fact that my father had passed away. So I decided to get some petty revenge by stealing my dad's ashes and telling them that if they wanted it back, then they would have to apologize to me. Here's what happened. Okay, so this happened last year, and honestly, it's probably the pettiest thing I've ever done. Let's get started right at the beginning. My biological dad was never really around when I was a kid. When he left, most of his side of the family went with him. The only ones who stayed in contact were my aunt and my grandfather, both of whom have since passed away. I had an okay relationship with my half-sister growing up, and that was about it. When I was 16 years old, I finally met some of my dad's family, and even then, he still didn't show up. I built a relationship with my grandmother around that time, but I didn't actually meet my dad until I was 20 years old, and even then, it was only over the phone and online. Fast forward to last year, and I was 29 years old when he passed away. And you know what? Nobody told me. My sister even drove 10 hours to visit him in the hospital while he was on life support for 2 days. Meanwhile, I found out after he died. You know, when his ex-wife, not my mom, but just some random woman, messaged me and offered her condolences. And that was how I learned that he was gone. It really hurt. I had spent most of my life wanting to meet him, and it turned out he had moved back to the area a year before he died. He had a relationship with my sister, but apparently me and our younger sister didn't make the cut. So like any reasonable person, I did a little digging. I found out which mortuary had him and gave them a call. They told me my grandmother and sister said that they had no way of contacting contacting me, which is hilarious considering they're both on my Facebook where I'm extremely active. And my sister used to call me at least once a week before all of this. The mortuary needed a majority of his children to consent to cremation. So I called my younger sister and together we went down there and signed the new paperwork. We arranged it so that the ashes would come straight to me. They said they couldn't give me the urn that had already been purchased as it had to go to whoever paid for it. So basically my grandmother paid for an urn and was handed an empty one. And now my dad's ashes are in the back of my closet. I handed out some to my nieces and nephews, and my younger sister wanted nothing to do with him, and honestly, I don't blame her. I told my grandmother and sister they could apologize first if they ever wanted to make things right. Well, there's now been dead silence, and honestly, I have no regrets about the situation. Wow, that is one way to get revenge. Holy crap. You literally went down there with your sister and said, oh, we're stealing the remains of my father. We're taking these ashes as collateral, and if you want them back, then guess what? You have to apologize. And please, don't misunderstand. I'm not chuckling at the fact that this happened at all, but I'm more laughing at the fact that your extended family act like jerks, and now they have to deal with it. Because first of all, they could have easily told you that your dad passed away, even though you didn't have a good relationship with him. They could have just messaged you on Facebook and all of this would have been fine. You could have moved on and it would have been completely over and everybody's happy. But they decided to be weird, so you got a lot weirder, and I'm not gonna lie, this is way more than I would ever do in my own life. But either way, good for you because I think you sent a very clear message to these people. I recently moved back in with my parents and I'm really struggling to set any kind of boundaries with these people, as I seriously feel like my entire life is under a microscope, and at this point, I really don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. I'm a 27-year-old female and I moved back in with my parents a year ago. Trust me, I would love to have my own place as that would solve all my issues, but I'm paying off all my debt I ended up in from my previous relationship. I'm in school as well while I work a full-time job that's literally 45 plus hours a week. I'm putting most of my money to paying off my debt. I still have a car, insurance, phone bill, and groceries, so I literally just can't afford my own place. Obviously, I no longer have any privacy or space anymore, and my main thing is I live in my parents' place for free. I used to have to pay rent before I moved out at 20, so I know if I give them any type of attitude, they will bring up the fact that I live there for free. I work a lot, I'm in online school, I buy my own groceries, clean up after myself and my cats, but I've been struggling to get back on a routine for the last year. Since moving back, obviously, I can't do the things I did living on my own, like cleaning when I want, having friends over, and smoking cigarettes or the herb, if you know what I mean. I can't even smoke in the backyard. I would have to leave the property. I work the same night shift I've been working for the past 6 years, and my parents are retired and they're always home. I started sleeping with earplugs so they don't usually wake me up, but it's the constantly coming into my room while I'm sleeping, waking me up to do chores or favors, always on me about my spending, as I have to buy my own groceries, but they always tell me I'm spending too much, and always having any conversation turn into a lecture because they don't like or agree with anything I do. They tell me I don't spend enough time with them, and then I do try to, but I am busy a lot. And they are always, and I mean always, going through my stuff. They're going through my mail. They are very, very opinionated. So anytime I do anything, there's always some kind of comment. For example, they hate coffee. So every time I make coffee, they come into the kitchen to tell me the smell is gross and that I shouldn't be making coffee. I know this stuff is little and I've ignored it, but my God, I swear they've gotten worse since I moved out. I've tried multiple times in several ways to kindly say, look, I just got done with a 12-hour shift. I really don't want to sit in the living room with you and watch the news or talk about how much in debt I am. I just want to sit in my room in silence. Or I'll say, I'm trying to work out and do my yoga, so can you please not stand in the doorway and stare at me? By the way, I'm not a morning person, so I usually don't even talk to them when I wake up. And I've also mentioned that I'm not a morning person, so just don't even acknowledge me. But it's always, oh, someone's being a brat today. Also, I only see my boyfriend on the weekends as he does live about an hour away, and sleepovers are not allowed under their roof. So usually we just want to sit in my room and relax or go on a day trip, but then it's like, oh, well, we want to get to know your boyfriend, so you need to sit in the living room with us. Wait, why are you avoiding us? And every single time I get told I'm being a brat and I have an awful attitude. I make bad decisions, I'm stupid. Like at this point, I just don't know what to say to them. I mean, I barely even talk to them nowadays because I don't want the lecture and I don't have the energy to fight. It's hard because they are nice people and I know they mean well, but it's just getting so frustrating. And at this point, I honestly do not know what to do. Okay, this all really sucks and I totally understand where you're coming from, but the one thing that like lights my hair on fire is the fact that they're going through your mail. Like, dude, that's not allowed. That's so illegal. I really hope they're not like opening up your mail because that would be a serious violation of privacy. If by some weird twist of fate they are doing that, dude, I would get a P.O. box like today and never look back. I would reroute all my mail to that and be like, okay, this is now my mailbox. box, you people cannot look at it. It also makes me wonder if you and your boyfriend can figure something out. I know that's a stretch because it sounds like money's tight, but I wonder if the two of you could live together and you could be like, okay, well, screw both of our parents, let's go do something on our own. Because legitimately, what you're describing right now sounds like my own personal nightmare. For me, in case you don't know already, because I've probably said this a bunch of times on the channel, I am a very private person. I love my privacy, I love my own space, and having my own place to like do things. So having anybody invade that in some kind of like intrusive way would seriously be like, wait a second, what are you doing? Get out of my house. So I can't imagine having parents like that and being like, oh my God, they're going through my mail. They're going through my room. They're trying to make me sit in the living room so they can interrogate my boyfriend. Like, no, I don't think so. That's not happening. And by the way, in case you're wondering, that's a completely normal response to be like, wait, no, I don't want that. What are you doing? Because they're being super intrusive and weird, and I don't blame you for being upset. So sure, I know that you're going through a lot and you got a lot of debt that you're figuring out, but hopefully some way, by some miracle, you can move out of there and be back on your own. Because your current living environment just doesn't sound fun, and I know I would hate that to like the highest degree. My entitled coworker thinks that she owns and runs this entire restaurant, barking demands and orders at literally everybody around her. But after being pushed to my breaking point, I finally decided to get some revenge on her. Here's how it went down. So this was a few years ago, right after the end of the pandemic. I was working as a pastry chef and wanted to change restaurants to shake things up. I ended up in an Italian place in town that seemed like a nice enough place. I didn't try it first, and now I regret that. Now, it's important to understand the weird structure of this particular restaurant. The owner was in his 70s and barely ran anything. And for the sake of the story, we'll call him Tom. He just wanted to run his appetizer station and pay someone else to be the head chef. And that chef is my mentor, who we will call Otto. Then there was a sous chef by the name of Keith, and the front of house manager, who we will call Jamie. Jamie had been working line cook shifts in the back due to short staffing, and she felt that made her our boss, even though she had literally zero authority over the line cooks, let alone the chefs. Now, this restaurant, to put it nicely, has seen better days. Not kitchen nightmares material, but definitely going underwater due to their rapidly aging fan base. Chef Otto was brought in originally as a consultant to revamp the menu and overhaul procedures. And you know what? He did. But then Jamie nagged Tom until he slowly made Otto change it back. And here's the thing, Jamie hates change. We've done it this way for 20 years. Yeah, and now you're in the red. Clearly things need to change. After a few months, Chef Otto got fed up and moved to another restaurant 40 miles away. And unfortunately, I couldn't follow at the time because of a family situation. We remained in touch with him teaching me a lot of things just through conversations. They then brought in a new executive chef who we will call Dudley to take over. Jamie helped choose this guy, and I was wondering, well, why does she want him? Well, it's because he was a burnt out doormat that would do whatever she wanted. Sous Chef Keith and I tried desperately to convince them to stop using recipes that physically, scientifically did not work. But Jamie's complaining continued. Her famous mantra was to say, "It's fine, we've done it for so many years." And it honestly slowly was driving me mad. Jamie is not just stubborn, she's an active bully that did not like him when people told her no. Tom hasn't had passion for much, probably since the 70s, so it was easy for her to bully him and get whatever she wanted. Eventually, Keith got fed up and bounced, leaving me alone to deal with Jamie and her beaten down lackeys. Now, the important thing is that weirdly, Tom actually really liked me. He liked that I was excited about food and wanted to make everything beautiful. This meant he gave me free reign. My station was my kingdom, until the restaurant started opening 7 days a week again. Suddenly, someone else had to run my station when I wasn't there. And guess who that was? Yeah, it was Jamie. Jamie took this as her opportunity to try and push me around, even though she had been told repeatedly that she was not my boss and couldn't tell me to do jack. She would rearrange my entire very large station and prep area for the 1 day a week that she watched it, and then complain when I fixed it. And honestly, this is where I hit my breaking point. Now, it's important to know that I'm a fan of do what you've got to do to make a station work for you, especially since she's very tall with back pain. I didn't mind her setting it up how she needed for service. I just wanted her to put it back when she left. It's just basic respect. If it's not your station, put it back. This battle went on for months, with Tom trying to have a backbone with her because he didn't want me to leave. Near the end of my stay, he brought in an ACF certified master chef and his apprentice to try again to revamping the menu. The master chef, who we will call Andy, did an exquisite job of modernizing and improving procedures. Let's just say that a lot of the methods that we use for Jamie's precious recipes were ineffective at best. His apprentice, who we will call Nina, was a pastry chef who helped me revamp the entire dessert menu, and Tom gave the two of us full control. They were beautiful, easy to plate quickly, and absolutely delicious. And the only thing that was pre-made was the gelato. Well, Jamie did not like this at all. She went into absolute overdrive, complaining constantly, making her old recipes when prepping, hiding ingredients, hiding equipment, the works. One thing that seriously got on mine and Nina's nerves was that she literally wouldn't garnish the plates at all. She was just too lazy, I guess, or maybe it was another middle finger. I had a kettle soup warmer to keep hot fudge warm during service because I would go through 10 cans of that stuff every 2 days. Well, she started hiding it. She's a tall woman, like 6'2", and I'm smaller, maybe like 5'4", so naturally she would hide it on top of things. Now, because I'm not a 3-year-old, I quickly find it and get it down. All the while, she was convinced that Nina was her new best friend, even though guess what, she wasn't. Nina hated her just as much as I did, and Jamie would literally tell Nina where she was hiding things just to try and gloat. Nina would obviously turn around and tell me or just go get it herself. After all this, my final straw arrives. Tom gave me a budget to go and buy new plates and my new salads. My old salad plates were admittedly very pretty once, but they were very beat up and very old. They needed to be replaced regardless. I picked out some new plates, they arrived, and they were gorgeous. Tom likes them and even seems a little excited about something for once. I came back from my day off 2 weeks later to find all the new plates in the basement and all the ratty beat up plates they hadn't thrown out yet back on the station. And you know what? That was it. I don't know why that was my final straw, but it was. I called Chef Otto within 10 minutes of getting to work and I asked if he had a spot for me. He asked what happened and I gave him the entire rundown. He offered me more money and less responsibility so that I could focus more on learning the other kitchen roles that I had never really gotten to explore. I then put in my 2 weeks notice that day. Tom was not happy with Jamie and for once actually put his foot down with her. In fact, she wasn't allowed near me during my whole notice period. And I really think he was hoping that I would change my mind. Well, as you've been waiting, this is where my petty revenge comes into play. My final day comes and Jamie isn't there. I suddenly have a wicked idea that didn't actually hurt anything. I took all of the most vital, high traffic items and I moved them all to the bottommost shelves and drawers. Now this was a huge station with drawer fridges and a Pepsi cooler. So you can imagine how low those lowest shelves and drawers really were. Not just the coolers either. I also did the equipment drawers, dry goods, freezers, I mean you name it, and it definitely got a makeover. I unfortunately didn't get to witness my artwork firsthand, but I did hear about it later from the dish guy. He said that she spent days cursing, bending over, and having to reorganize everything. I never heard anything about it from Tom because he was still mad at her for driving me out. So either he thought she deserved it or just didn't believe her. Either way, imagining her spending days having to bend over every couple of minutes definitely scratched the itch of pure frustration that had been built up over the 4 months after my chef left. I know this is awfully long for a petty revenge story, but this woman seriously made my job an irritating nightmare every single day. I love this story so much. Oh my gosh, you have no idea. I've worked in restaurants like this and I've dealt with people like this on a first-hand basis, so this made me smile and laugh so much. I love everything about it. Like seriously, this felt like a cathartic experience. This was wonderful. To the original poster, I know exactly what you're going through, and I'm so glad that you got some kind of revenge against your Jamie. Because I had my own Jamie, and let me tell you something, after they started calling me princess, all because I didn't know what I was doing, that was the day I was like, oh man, I'm quitting this job and I'm never coming back. So seriously, you are my hero for actually pulling something off like that and making her life just a little bit miserable. Because from the sounds of it, it really seems like Jamie absolutely deserved it. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My idiotic manager refuses to allow me to clock in early from home, despite the fact that I have a stomach problem that is quite debilitating, forcing me to go the extra mile to prove her wrong and make her look incredibly stupid. Here's how I did it. Okay, so last summer, I got a new manager that I reported directly to at work. She had decades of good experience, but none as a manager of people, and it turns out she was awful at it. She was given about a month to learn the ropes before I was passed off from reporting to the director to her. For that meeting, she mentioned that I needed to be on site 3 days a week, clocking in on site at my scheduled time. Now, I had been coming in 1 or 2 times weekly for nearly 18 months, and often while clocking in at home. I also communicated that I had started going through some yet-to-be-diagnosed gut issues that made my mornings especially unpleasant. But those details fell on deaf ears, and instead I was told, come in at your scheduled times or get an ADA exemption. And for context, ADA stands for Americans with Disabilities Act. So I thought to myself, okay jerk, I'll call that bluff. And it was then that I decided to start the ADA process. Within a matter of weeks, I had documented permission to clock in from home every day at my personal discretion. Plus, a couple of months later, I was diagnosed with moderate to severe ulcerative colitis. Now, this manager thankfully didn't want to be doing this job and left recently after about 9 months. But you know what? I get to keep clocking in at home every single day until the heat death of the universe, thanks to their callous attitude and general indifference to my discomfort. Okay, I can't stand dealing with managers like this. They micromanage every detail about your job as if you're trying to get one over on them. them. But seriously, like most people are just trying to get by and like get things done. Like I know that's how I feel when I work. And the fact that your manager was really like, oh yeah, apply for disability, see if I care. That's the only way you're clocking in early. It's like, lady, what are you talking about? Like it is not that serious. Like my God, have a heart. Or at least learn how to be a good manager, because holy crap, you are definitely not one. So yeah, I love the way the original poster handled this, because they clearly got under this person's skin, so much so that they probably quit because of it. Am I the jerk for making my sick husband clean up his own vomit after he missed the trash can sitting right next to him? Because right now he's pretty pissed off at me, and at this point I'm not sure what to do. Here's how it went down. Okay, it's important to note that this is definitely a throwaway account. My husband has been dealing with a stomach bug of some kind the last few days. Vomiting, diarrhea, nausea, the works. I've been taking care of him and the house and the kids by myself because of it, which is a lot of work because 2 of them are under 5. This morning my husband wanted to try eating something, so I made him toast as requested. As he was on the couch nibbling on his breakfast, I was making our toddlers their breakfast and feeding them when I hear him violently gagging in the other room. He had been hanging out in the living room during the entire illness, so he had a trash can in there in case he had to puke or whatever. I called out to him to remember to use it or to go to the bathroom if he thought he was gonna vomit, but guess what? He didn't listen, and instead he threw up all over the floor and got some on the couch. My husband then comes into where I'm feeding our kids and says that he's gonna go to our room, so can I clean up his puke? And I said to him, absolutely not. There was really no reason for him to vomit all over the floor, so he needed to take care of it himself. I had been cleaning it up all weekend already without complaining when he was getting sick by surprise, but he has plenty of time to prepare for this and not make a mess. Well, my husband is now mad at me for not showing him a good bedside manner. So seriously, am I the jerk here? Because this really is incredibly frustrating. Dude, there's no way you're the jerk. This is so stupid. He had a trash can. He had everything set up in the living room. Why in the world did he puke on the floor or the couch? Like if he was a kid, I would totally understand. But this is a grown adult we're talking about here. Like, are you serious? If he is really that sick, then he should have that trash can glued to his chest. Like seriously, dude, keep that right next to you at all times. There's no reason to ever step away from it. Like seriously, what was he thinking? And this is not you being callous to him being sick. Like this is absolutely his fault. And trust me, I've been there as well, where you throw up and you feel like garbage. But that doesn't mean that I'm gonna leave it on the floor and be like, hey, could you clean it up for me? Like, no, dude, are you kidding me? Get down there and clean it up yourself. That's so irresponsible. So no, you're definitely not the jerk. There's no way on earth I would ever clean that up. And if I was in the original poster's shoes, I probably would have reacted the exact same way. An entitled jerk who is also riding the same Greyhound bus as me tries to act like my friend just to board the bus first. But after watching him bother literally everybody else on this bus for hours on end, I decided that enough was enough and I shut this guy down in a way he will truly never forget. Here's what happened. Okay, so at the time I was a 26-year-old female taking a Greyhound bus, and everything that could go wrong really was going wrong. I'm keenly aware that I am disabled and fragile. I used to be overly nice and avoid saying anything that might cause trouble, but in this instance, I was 40 hours into what was supposed to be a 28-hour Greyhound trip and had a minimum of 12 more to go. We were in the Seattle station in the early morning. Most of the passengers had spent the night there, and this one guy was pissing everybody off. He was either oblivious or maybe enjoying how upset people were getting. He had directly insulted one of the other passengers who had taken it upon themselves to make sure I was okay on this trip the night before. I stood in the disabled passenger line with my neon pink cane and one bus friend I'd made who was helping me with my bag. Well, this guy comes and stands next to me and starts talking to me like we are the best of friends. I looked at him for a second before telling him to get the heck away from me and saying a few choice words about his poor character and how there was no way I was going to let him pretend to be my friend just to board the bus early. And after I laid into him, I heard someone snicker at that point. Well, he was so startled and then offended that for a second I thought I might get attacked. My brash bush buddies who had taken me under their wing stepped in and sent him to the back of the line. And as a result, everybody clapped and cheered at his disgrace. Okay, there's one line in here that really stands out, and people in the comments section of this post actually pointed it out as well. It's the fact that you assume that he enjoys watching people get upset, and like he's taking pleasure in the fact that people are pissed off at him. And people who act this way, who are just antagonistic for the sake of getting a rise out of you or something like that, like those people suck. They're super obnoxious. I can't stand people who act like that, which for me makes it even sweeter that you shut him down in front of everybody. So yeah, good for you for standing up for yourself, because this guy was being incredibly creepy and he needed to be shut down sooner than later. An entitled dollar store old lady bumps her cart into me multiple times while I'm trying to check out at the register, resulting in me embarrassing her and shutting her down in a way I'm sure she's never experienced before in her life. Here's what happened. Okay, so I stopped at the dollar store on my way home from work today to pick up some paper towels and some milk. And when I go up there to check out, there's a line, which is totally fine. I'm standing in line minding my own business business when I feel a hard bump on my hip. I then look back and I see this little old frail lady behind me who has pushed her shopping cart right into me. I think to myself, oh, she probably doesn't have good vision or depth perception, so that must be why she bumped into me. So I move up a little bit, taking care not to get into the personal space of the person ahead of me. So the next person goes up to the register and we all move up. And guess what? The little old lady pushes her cart into me again. When I look back, she is looking anywhere except at me. And at this point, I get a little suspicious. This then happens 2 more times as the line moves, but I'm still trying to give her the benefit of the doubt. That is until my turn at the register comes up, and as I start putting my items on the counter, this little old lady bumps me again and starts putting her items on the counter along with mine. Now, this is not a conveyor belt checkout. It's just a small single person space. At this point, I turn to her and I politely say, "Can you please wait?" All while I put her items back in her cart. And guess what? This little old lady gets this incredulous look on her face like she can't believe I had the audacity to tell her to wait. She then starts sputtering and muttering and looking around at all the other customers waiting in line like she expects someone to stick up for her. But all the other customers are looking at me, waiting to see what will happen next. So I just simply finished my transaction and I left. But it honestly leaves me scratching my head because I seriously cannot believe this lady acted this way towards me. Okay, I think anyone could agree with this, and hopefully I'm right, but you've got one chance to bump into me with your shopping cart. The first time's gonna be an accident, and anything after that is gonna be on purpose. And you better believe I'm gonna call that out, dude. Like, there's no way I'm gonna let that slide. And I think anybody would, because personally, I don't like those shopping carts hitting my ankles, and I don't know anybody who would. So there really is a nice way to do it and then escalate from there. But like, this lady was doing it over and over again. This pushy old lady just trying to be like, "Oh, hurry it up. It's my turn. Let me go next." And the fact that she looked around as if you offended her in some kind of way just because you told her to wait and put her items back, it's like, lady, what are you talking about? Those dollar store checkout spaces are usually really small. We're talking maybe 2 feet of room, if that. And she's over here stacking her items trying to be like, "Well, it's my turn, I guess." Like, no, dude, are you kidding? That's crazy to me. So good for you for saying something and standing up for yourself, because this little old lady absolutely deserved it. An entitled customer demands that I give him a 10% discount on an item he's buying, claiming that he deserves it all because of a sale that ended 2 weeks ago at our store. And I'm honestly blown away by how stupid this guy was and how entitled he truly was acting. Here's how it went down. Okay, so a few weeks ago, we had a 10% off store-wide sale, and that sale ended 2 weeks ago. Well, cue this customer emailing us a day later, asking if we sell a specific item that we definitely don't. However, it's something one of our suppliers sell, so I told him we might be able to get it in as a special order. Now, since we have never sold this item before, we need to work out the retail price based on the cost price, the shipping, and the tax, which means we might have a bit of a back and forth between the supplier and us to get shipping quotes. Now, because it's quite a process, I didn't want to start it until the customer was happy to proceed. And you know what? He was happy to go forward. So I started to finalize the price. Our supplier is in a very different time zone, so back and forth takes a few days. It's essentially one email per day because there isn't a single overlapping business hour where we're both open. However, we both figured out what it would cost to get it, as well as what it would cost to sell it, and overall it was about $500. Well, the following conversation happened with the customer, and honestly, I'm still scratching my head about it. The customer said to me, "Is that with the 10% discount?" I responded by saying, "No, that's just the price of it." The customer then said, "Oh, okay, so I'll have to pay like what, $450 then?" I explained to him again that it's only $500, but they literally double back and ask, "Well, where's the discount?" When I ask what discount they're talking about, they say the 10% discount from the store-wide sale. I then said to them, "Well, that ended 2 weeks ago." But they responded, "Yeah, but I asked about the product the day after the sale ended." Now, at this point, I just said to him, "The sale is over and we don't even sell this product. It's a special order." Well, this guy responded by saying, "Well, most stores honor the discount if the customer's just a day late, you know." But I respond back by saying, "Yeah, we do that for products that we have in stock that were for part of the sale, not for products that are special orders. We have never stocked or sold this item, so it was never on sale. So, since there was never a sales price that you missed out on, the cost is $500. The customer then says to me, "Well, I'm not buying it unless you give me a discount." But I just responded by saying, "Okay then, feel free to call back if you change your mind," and then I hung up on him. I just couldn't believe it. Imagine expecting a discount on an item a store doesn't even sell, literally 2 weeks after a sale ended. Keep in mind, he didn't ask for a discount, he expected one. He just assumed he was entitled to one because he asked about a product we don't sell the day after a sale ended, and then got all huffy about it when he didn't get his way. I should have just told him it was $555, then sold it to him for $500 on sale. But unfortunately, I lacked the foresight to predict this level of stupid. Okay, I've worked retail before and I've dealt with people like this, and my god, they are so annoying. Because the original poster has it right. Like, this is not even your product. You're doing a special special order, you don't normally sell this, so of course there's not gonna be a sale on it. And you know it's awful because this guy literally made you work for nothing. You had to send one email a day just to get the details worked out, only for the customer to be like, well, I'm not getting a discount, so I'm not gonna buy it, sorry. It's like, dude, you suck. Please never come back. Like, that is the worst thing on planet Earth. So I honestly just don't blame you for getting frustrated because I think I would be in the exact same boat. Today, I messed up by losing my fiance over a cryptocurrency, where I lost all of our money meant for our wedding, resulting in her literally walking out of my life. Here's what happened. Okay, yeah, I want to start off by saying that I totally screwed up big time. Me and my fiance, who we will call Jess for the sake of the story, have been together for 4 years and engaged for 1. Everything was great. We were planning our wedding, picking venues and all that other good stuff. But then I got sucked into a cryptocurrency. And you know what? I thought I was going to be some genius investor. It started when I saw some posts online about meme coins and that they were like super fast and cheap fees and all this other garbage. And I'm not rich, but I have like $10,000 saved up for the wedding. So I figured, why not throw $5,000 into one of these coins? I can make a quick buck and surprise Jess with a fancier honeymoon. I didn't tell her because I wanted it to be a surprise. But you know what? It was a big mistake. I lost everything in the first few weeks. My $10,000 was gone and I was freaking out. I couldn't sleep. Jess noticed that I was acting weird, kept asking what was wrong, and I didn't want to tell her that I blew our wedding fund, so I lied and said that it was work stress. Eventually, she found out anyways. I left my laptop open and she saw the trading application. She saw the red numbers and the entire mess I was in. And you know what? She flipped out, screaming how I gambled our future without even telling her. I tried to explain, said I'd make it back, but she wasn't having it. She said I broke her trust and acted like some kind of sneaky addict. She then gave me back the ring, packed her bag, and left to her mom's place. That was 2 weeks ago, and she's barely talking to me and says that she needs some space. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Oh wow, that is a big mess up. If you're gonna invest in crypto, my god, you gotta be careful. Like seriously, that's like really volatile and you could lose everything just like the original poster. So I definitely do not recommend what he did because that was not very smart, because obviously he literally has lost everything and that really sucks. My entitled sister-in-law removes me and the rest of my family from her wedding photos entirely, as she literally made it seem like we did not even exist. So I decided to get some revenge by returning the favor in full, by choosing to eviscerate her from my wedding entirely, while also humiliating her in the process. Here's what happened. When my brother got married, his bride, who's now my sister-in-law, had very specific expectations. She wanted everyone in the family to wear their wedding colors, and we all did. People flew in from out of state. Everyone made an effort to make her feel celebrated. Well, the day before the wedding, she made some offhand but clearly pointed remarks about how our side of the family never takes anything seriously, and how she wasn't expecting us to take this seriously either. Well, the comments made their rounds and feelings were hurt before the wedding even began, but we still showed up, looked great, and we participated. Fast forward to getting the wedding photos and video, and not a single photo of our side of the family was posted. Not a single one. In the entire 3-minute highlight reel, there was literally no faces of our family, except for a 3-second clip of my parents with a bride and groom. The rest of us were cut out as if we didn't even exist. I texted her very cordially, mind you, and I asked if she could send me the pictures with just our siblings since none had been posted, and she responded to me by saying, "Oh, we never even took those pictures." But that's wild because I remember helping people adjust corsages for them, but then she just doubled down on the gaslighting. I gave it 6 months and then I asked again, and then suddenly she had no idea what I was talking about. So I thought to myself, fine, if you want to act that way, then trust me, I could do the exact same thing. And this is where my petty revenge comes into play. I'm getting married in 8 days and I've been engaged for 6 months, and I've been planning this moment since she tried to erase us. I hired a great photographer and videographer, and what she doesn't know is that the videographer has a secret mission: make it look like she's getting all the attention, track her, hover near her like she's the star of the show, make her feel seen, and then during the final cut, she won't appear for even a second, just like the way she made sure that we didn't. Now, originally, I didn't even invite her. Now, word must have gotten out because she cornered me at a family dinner, and she said to me, "Unfortunately, I have work the day before and after your wedding, but I should still be able to make it." Well, I was so stunned. I just said to her, "That's fine. The Airbnb is booked whether you're there or not." So now, unfortunately, she's coming. And just to cope with this, I decided to spell her name wrong on the wedding invite on purpose. And that was just my first move, with the video blackout being my last. Now, here's the thing. I'm not asking for advice, and I'm not asking if it's too mean, because it's not. It's exactly fair, and trust me, she definitely deserves it. Oh man, I love some mutually assured destruction. First of all, your sister-in-law sounds like an absolute jerk. And trust me, I could have said a lot of different words than jerk, but I think you know what I'm trying to say. Who in their right mind would go into a new family and be like, "Oh, let's edit them out of my highlight reel"? It's like, my god, dude, at least pretend like you like your in-laws. in-laws. Like, why would you start that foundation for a lifelong of dealing with these people? That doesn't seem smart or wise in the slightest. Like, that really is a miscalculation. So you know what? I completely agree with the original poster. Your sister-in-law deserves to be eviscerated from your highlight reel. Like, not even a second of her should ever be shown, because that's what she did to you. And then she tried to act like, oh, we didn't even get pictures of you guys. Like, that's obnoxious, because you know for a fact she coordinated that never being shown. So yeah, in this case, an eye for an eye truly is the best solution, because this lady sounds like she's a complete monster. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for telling my friend that I know I'm smarter than him after he literally ranked me as the dumbest person in our friend group? Because right now, apparently, he's really offended that I said that, and now I feel like some of my friends are turning against me in favor of him. Here's what happened. I'm a 19-year-old female, and I have a friend who's also 19 who likes to lie a lot. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. He lies about random stuff constantly and forgets what he even said. He's told people that we've been friends for years longer than we actually have been, which makes no sense because they could just ask me. He even said he lived in a 3-story house when he was in a double wide, and even made up how much money he has. His lies are almost always easy to fact check, and honestly, I've never judged him for any of that. I was raised not to care about superficial stuff like that. But one thing that's always been weird is that he loves to act like he's better than everyone, especially when it comes to academics. In high school, he claimed to be on honor roll all 4 years, never failed a class, had a GPA of 4.0, and all this other garbage. But I saw him taking credit recovery senior year, and one of my friends saw his grades on a teacher's computer, and they were really bad. And by bad, I mean like really bad. But even still, I never brought it up. I didn't judge him because we all struggle sometimes. In fact, I opened up to him once and told him I technically failed Spanish, but my teacher passed me in the end. He then started making fun of me and calling me names, which I didn't take personally because I know that's just projection. Anyways, fast forward to a recent trip to Walmart with our friend group, and somehow we start talking about academics. He then decides to rank everyone from smartest to dumbest, and guess what? He puts me in the last place. And that really annoyed me because I knew for a fact that he was failing and lying, and I'd never corrected him before. So I finally said, you know what? I know I'm smarter than you academically, but I've just never cared to correct you on it. Well, he got really upset about that and hasn't spoken to me ever since then. Some of my friends said that I was being mean, but others said that he had it coming. So seriously, am I at fault here? Because I honestly don't know what to do. Okay, I'm speechless that anybody's on this guy's side. Like, seriously, he's absolutely at fault. He ranked you the stupidest person in your friend group. How is that in any way justifiable? Like, are you kidding me right now? Oh yeah, he's just gonna sit there and call you dumb, and then the second you turn the tables, suddenly that's too far? Like, that's really stupid in my opinion. And the fact that any of your friends are trying to be like, oh yeah, you just went a little too far, that's really mean. Like, those people suck. I would never want to like talk to them ever again and be like, oh, so you do think I'm the stupidest person in the group. Like, what is going on right now? How is that at all defendable? So in case you were wondering, no, you're definitely not the jerk. This guy's an idiot, and in my opinion, it was only a matter of time before somebody called him out. The entitled neighborhood bully is a Karen who's getting way too close to being served a cease and desist, because this lady feels the need to constantly tell me what I can and can't do about my property, and at this point, I've hit my breaking point and I'm about to snap. Here's what's going down. Okay, to start things out, there's a neighbor who thinks it's okay to tell everyone what to do with their own property. Every time she decides to talk to anyone, she stands in the street or in their yard, shouting for them like she's calling a dog. She talks at people instead of to them, and is the rudest person in the entire neighborhood. In fact, yesterday, she was in the street yelling, and she didn't say anything that indicated to me that she was trying to get my attention. I've lived in places where yelling in the street means that the person is either like high on some substance, or they're just straight up crazy, so I was just attending to my pets and not paying attention to her. Now, my name is not Missy, Misty, or Hey You. I don't answer to random crap like that. She finally got my attention, and I told her that she can't yell at me like I'm a dog. She then claimed that she didn't, but other neighbors agree that she definitely did. She started saying that we have to cut vines and stuff out of the fence between the 2 yards, and said that she was going to call code enforcement if we didn't. My cousin went out as soon as he got home, as he lives here too, and he cut the vines and plants even though the roots of everything that she was talking about are from her side of the fence. Well, this morning she called code enforcement anyways because she didn't like being told that she can't talk to us like we're dogs, and that she needs to keep herself off of our property. We have a barrel that we have some unusable metal in, and it's not for trash. And she's put trash in it and claimed that we've been using it for trash and rainwater. And trust me, even that jerk from code enforcement was baffled by that. Part of what bothers me is that she has multiple code violations on her property, but still she tries to tell everyone else what she wants them to do with theirs. While we're outside working on getting getting things situated the way the code enforcement officer told us to do so, she literally drove past slowly, mean mugging us the entire time. My husband even yelled out, "What do you want?" She then just drove off down the street, passing her property instead of going home. This lady is stupid if she thinks we're gonna keep putting up with her shenanigans. If she continues to do this stuff, I will serve her a cease and desist. The last neighbor to receive one from me got a crash course in the legality of such a notice, and almost caught charges from the police as well as the civil case we were about to file if pushed. So this Karen has seriously pushed me to my breaking point because right now I'm not sure what to do. Oh man, I love this so much. I love the fact that you're standing up for yourself and saying, oh no, we will absolutely go the legal route. The original poster and some of the comments they made down below in their post, they said that the neighbor directly across the street from her is already compiling footage from his camera, which according to the original poster will show everything that they need. And that's really exciting. Like, if there's anything you really want, it's evidence in a case like this. Because you know for a fact this Karen's gonna lie through her teeth. If it does go to court or any kind of like legal matter, first off, I don't know what goes into anything like that, but also you can bet that she's gonna be like, oh, I never did that. I'm a good member of the neighborhood. But hopefully overall, none of that goes there. Like, that's just gonna be annoying. And hopefully this stupid Karen gets a life and leaves you alone. Because you guys are literally just trying to live your life in peace. And the last thing you need is some idiot trying to tell you what you can and can't do. Today, I messed up by trying to flirt with a guy at the gym and eventually ending up in a full-blown CPR situation. And I'm honestly so embarrassed and I don't think I can ever go back to that gym ever again. Here's what happened. Okay, this happened yesterday and I'm still cringing so hard I might never step into that gym ever again. I'm a 22-year-old female and I recently started going to this new gym and there's this insanely cute guy who works out around the same time as me. I've been trying to find the courage to talk to him for a couple of weeks and yesterday I finally decided it was time. I saw him doing deadlifts and I thought, okay, casual compliment, easy in. So I walked by, I smiled and I said, your lats are majestic. I thought to myself, what am I doing? Majestic? What was I thinking? I don't know why I said that. I meant to say you're lifting a lot or nice form or literally anything else. He was confused and said, thanks? And I panicked and decided to just walk away and die in the locker room. While trying to speed walk away in embarrassment, I tripped over a medicine ball somewhere left in the way. My face planted on the floor and I knocked the wind out of myself so hard I couldn't breathe for like 20 seconds. A trainer saw it happen and thought I was having a heart attack and started actual CPR protocol before I could wheeze out, I'm fine. Well, that same cute guy helped me hold my legs up while I got oxygen. I'm pretty sure right then I died inside. Anyways, I'm now the CPR girl at the gym, and yes, I still plan to go back even though I really feel like I can't. Oh my god, this is like worst case scenario. In fact, this is something that you would see straight out of a sitcom. Like seriously, you walked up to him and talked about his majestic lats, tripped, and then nearly died. Like you just almost died right there on the ground. And that poor trainer's like, oh my god, someone's having a heart attack. Finally, the CPR certification is gonna come into play. And they actually started doing CPR protocol in front of the guy while you're there like, oh my god, with him holding your legs up, dude, I would die. I completely understand. So I'm right there with you, man. If you gotta switch gyms, do it now. It's totally fine. Or better yet, double down and be like, I don't care, I'm going back. Because sure, it was embarrassing, but it's not impossible to get over. Am I the jerk for refusing to let my father officiate my wedding? Because after I told him that I don't want him to do that, he acted incredibly entitled and freaked out, demanding that I apologize for even suggesting that he not be allowed to do it. And at this point, I seriously do not know what to do. Here's what happened. So my father has been a reverend for 30 years. He and my mother are still married and they have 2 children, my sister and myself. Now, neither my sister or myself have a good relationship with my parents. They weren't downright physically awful towards us, but both of them are definitely narcissists. And some of the things they did left deep psychological scars that I still deal with to this day. It has always been a running joke from my parents that my dad would perform our wedding ceremonies and christen our children. This was the standard practice for my sister's wedding and the birth of her child. This, however, is not something that I want. I can't have my father preach to me and my husband to be about love when he has rarely shown it to me throughout my childhood. So a few weeks ago, my fiance and I were having dinner with them and we were discussing our plans for the future. My dad said something along the lines of, I wonder what message I could give at your ceremony. And I shot him down immediately, saying that I did not want him to perform the ceremony. He then got mad and asked me to explain myself, almost like I had told him that I had unalived someone. I then told him that I still wanted him to walk me down the aisle, which made him blow up even more. I finally said that he could choose between being my father or being my pastor, and that was the end of the conversation and then the end of the dinner. He's now demanding that I apologize because apparently it's his right as my father to perform the ceremony. He's even saying he's not going to pay for my wedding, and he's saying that if he doesn't perform the ceremony, he and my mother will not be attending. I'm now considering cutting all contact and eloping, but I'm scared I would miss them when the big day comes along. So am I the jerk for the direction I've gone? Because right now I'm still incredibly pissed pissed off. Holy cow, you're not kidding. He really is a narcissist. This guy's demanding an apology all because you're like, no, I don't want you to do the ceremony for my wedding. Which, by the way, it's your wedding. You can literally do whatever you want. So for him to be like, oh, this is ridiculous. I demand to be the pastor at your wedding. Like, that's really obnoxious. I don't blame you for being like, no, you're not doing it this time. This is weird. So no, you're definitely not the jerk. Your dad's being super entitled by like assuming this is something he's going to do no matter what. Because at the end of the day, just like I've said before, this is absolutely your choice. And you should definitely not be held captive by your dad's wishes. Today, I lost a 5-year friendship overnight, all because I tapped her on the backpack to get her attention. Because now she's claiming that I tried to hurt her, despite the fact that I was just trying to get her attention and talk to her. And at this point, I'm so weirded out that I may have done something wrong that I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So my 22-year-old friend and I were at the library late until like 2 o'clock in the morning. She then suddenly decided to leave and she started walking off before I could offer to go with her. I didn't want her walking home alone that late. So I called out to her a few times as we were still inside the well-lit library around other students, but she still didn't respond. Now I figured that she had her headphones in or something like that. So I gently tapped her backpack to get her attention. She then got startled and said that I scared her. I immediately apologized and I told her I just wanted to walk her home so she wouldn't be alone that late. She then said that she was fine going alone, so I said okay and I stayed to study. Well, since then she's been completely passive-aggressive, ignoring me, giving me the cold shoulder, etc. We had plans to take senior pictures together, which she agreed to do weeks ago, and now she says she doesn't want to do them anymore. When I asked what was going on, she said she felt uncomfortable around me and thought I might hurt her in the future, and that I should be grateful that she wasn't reporting me to the authorities. And when she said this, I was stunned. I explained that I never meant to scare her and apologized again, but I told her that calling me aggressive over lightly tapping her bag just to get her attention felt really extreme. I asked her to report it if she truly believed that I meant her harm. I mean, there are cameras in the library that could back up what happened, but at that point, she finally backed off. And honestly, this isn't the first weird moment we've had. Months ago, we were play fighting and I lightly slapped her arm in a joking way. You know, stuff that friends would do. She then hit back harder and then told me to get out of her car and not touch her ever again. When she did this, I was shocked, but I apologized because I understand boundaries. And I know how being touched without consent can be triggering. What really hurt though was what happened the night at the library. That night at the library, she had pressured me to open up about my own experience with some scary situations, which I eventually did, and afterwards her energy totally shifted. I mean, I thought she would understand given her own experiences, but she barely spoke to me after that and then just decided to walk off. I feel like this is part of a bigger pattern with her, where she always needs to be the more hurt one. I told her on the phone call today that I can't be friends with someone who sees me as a threat, especially with my own history of some awful stuff that's happened to me. She then said to me, well, I can't be friends with someone who can hurt me. So honestly, am I at fault here? Because at this point, I am so devastated by what's going on. Dude, your friend sucks. Let me just say that first and foremost, you didn't do anything wrong. Because first of all, I think you have it right. I really think she really believes she has to be like the center of attention. And also, just to clear the air, of course you didn't attack her. Like, that's just a ridiculous statement for her to make. Like, come on, you were tapping her on the shoulder. You were not like going after her to try and hurt her. She's overreacting and trying to blow this up into something that it's not. So if this was me and I had someone saying this kind of thing to my face and being like, oh, I can't be friends with you. You could hurt me one day. I can't have that. I would see this as a blessing from the universe and be like, okay, see you later. Because this is some insane behavior and you do not deserve to deal with this in the slightest. Am I the jerk for not moving from the front of the line at a Disneyland street parade after a huge family cut in front of me and demanded that I move back out of their way? Here's what went down. Okay, so I was at Disneyland one day and I happened to be there for the start of one of their parades. I was riding one of the park's motorized scooters and managed to snag a spot right up to the barrier line that they put up that blocks pedestrians from crossing the road when the parade is about to start, which honestly is pretty laughable if you ask me. I was among the first ones to line up behind it after the announcement about the parade starting soon was broadcasted. It was the perfect timing and perfect spot to be in, right? For front row seats, especially since I was using my scooter as the seat. As people are gathering around and behind me and my scooter to come watch the parade, the crowd coming to watch the parade was getting huge, with little room to move even if they wanted to. But through all of this one rude family comes up to the other side of the barrier to watch the parade, which put them right in the path of the parade and blocked my view along with everybody else's who was standing around me. Luckily, some Disney staff saw what the family had done, and they were immediately ordered to get behind the barrier where they belong with everybody else watching the parade, because they were blocking the parade route by standing where they were. After some grumbling, the family did move, but the jerks tried to demand that I, along with everybody else who had perfect spots right up to the barrier, get out of their way and move back so they could use the spots for themselves. themselves, so they and their stupid kids could see the parade up close instead of everybody else who had gotten to the right side of the barrier line first. Well, everybody and myself all flat out refused to move and told them flat out to go to the back of the parade line where they belonged, since they cut in front of all of us who had been there way ahead of them before they even showed up, on the wrong side of the barrier. It's not our problem the staff told them to move, nor is it our obligation to get out of their way when they were trying to block our view. Dude, I'm telling you, Disney adults and Disney people in general are some of the most obnoxious, entitled people on planet Earth. And I'm not talking about like the normal fan who's like loves Disney and they love going to Disney World and the amusement park and they're like, oh yeah, this is great. And then they go back home and they live a normal life. I'm talking about people like this who feel they are completely entitled to whatever's in front of them. Because I know for a fact if I was standing next to you and I was dealing with this as well, oh man, I would be losing my mind. There's no way I would put up with that. Like seriously, this is so rude. So good for you and everybody else around you for standing up for yourselves, because these people deserve to get shut down. This next story came from the Am I the Jerk subreddit. Check the links in the description if you would like to submit your own story. Am I the jerk for leaving a bad review after paying nearly $100 for a cake that was quite literally nothing like what I asked for? Here's what happened. So back in February, just before my birthday, I had an idea, because my sister, who's gluten sensitive, probably hasn't had a real birthday cake in years, just the occasional gluten-free pastries. So I decided to go all out this year and order her special cake from a local gluten-free baker that I had seen posting in a Facebook group. Her cakes always looked amazing, and I thought this would be a perfect treat. Since it was February and the cake wouldn't be needed until May, I figured it would give her plenty of time to let me know if she couldn't do it. I spent over $100 on the cake, with charges for fresh fruit and edible glitter. The design I asked for was a vintage heart cake in pastel orange, which was classic with hand-pipe lettering, glittering beneath the letters, and arches of frosting. I sent Emma, not her real name, 3 photos as references. She seemed excited and assured me that she could make it happen. Well, cut to May, and at 11 o'clock p.m. the night before I was supposed to pick up the cake, I get an email from Emma. She had frosted the cake in the wrong color. She offered a partial refund but didn't send any photos of how the cake looked. I thanked her for the offer but politely mentioned I was a little disappointed it wasn't the orange I had ordered. She then offered to re-ice the cake entirely, which I appreciated. The next day, I rushed home from work while my mom picked up the cake, and when I opened the box, my heart sank. The cake was completely different from what I had ordered. It was wide, flat, and possibly only one layer, nowhere near the height I requested, and the color was a pinkish orange, but it didn't have the edible glitter that I had paid for. It was clearly a home baker situation, and not the professional style that I had been told she could do. I was still holding out hope that maybe the taste would make up for the visual disappointment, so I decided to wait until we tried it. But when we did, the cake was incredibly dry, like maybe it was overbaked or something like that, and instead of the promise of fresh fruit, it had literally frozen berries. So I emailed Emma, attached photos comparing the cake I received with the one I had requested, and I told her I wasn't asking for a refund, but wished that she had let me know earlier that she couldn't make the cake that I had asked for, so I could find another baker. Since I didn't hear back from her and I wanted to leave an honest review, I wrote that the cake was dry and didn't match the design that I had requested, but I also stated that it was still good and I wished the business all the best. Well, that's when things really took a turn. Emma replied to my review and I honestly felt my stomach drop. She accused me of altering the photos and said I shouldn't have left a review at all. But for the record, I'm not a photographer. I'm an accountant, and I didn't alter anything. I don't even know how. I thought my review was quite mild considering the situation, but now I'm wondering if I overstepped. What should I do? No, you are not the jerk, bro. There's no way I would have let that slide. The original poster states they paid over $100 to get this crap set up. Like if I paid that much money, dude, that cake better be perfect. There's no excuse for that. So no, you're not the jerk for leaving a review, and in my opinion, you could have been way harsher about it. Because based on what you described, this Emma lady absolutely deserved it. An entitled family tries to steal my dog right out from underneath me while I'm at a public park, claiming that they not only deserve it, but also that there's nothing I can do about it, leaving me incredibly panicked and not sure what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, I want to start off by saying that I'm heated. And no, it has nothing to do with the rising temperatures. Like, this is absolutely infuriating that these types of people actually exist. For some context, I have 2 dogs, a 14-year-old Chihuahua and a 4-year-old Cheagle. I decided to take them to a nearby park to let them get some fresh air, as they've been laying around pretty much all week, and I figured that they could do well with the exercise. So I grab a few treats, a gallon of water, and their favorite ball and stuffed toy. We hop into the car and then we head out. The day is quite nice, not too hot, but definitely starting to get warmer, and I figure that we could do a nice lunch when we get back. We get to the park and there's a few people there. It seems like there's 2 families and a couple of people playing volleyball not too far away. So I park, I find a nice big empty spot with plenty of running space, and I let the girls just run loose. We're playing around for a good 5 minutes at this point, and I'm trying to keep my balance with my walking cane so they don't knock me over as they run back towards me and into my legs like I'm a bowling pin. For the sake of the story, I'll call my Chihuahua Jay and my Cheagle Charlie. I will note that Charlie really, and I mean really, likes to play. We're talking with anyone, everyone, anything, and everything. And that's mainly my father's part of spoiling and coddling her as a pup when she was only 2 months old. She was never disciplined. She was spoiled with human food so much that she wouldn't eat regular dog or puppy food. She disobeys you, rarely listens when you call her name, etc. She's always wagging her tail so much for whatever reason that her entire hips shake and she'll get exhausted from just being happy. Anyways, at some point, there are some kids running around at a jungle gym nearby, laughing and playing and doing as kids do, and some adults that are trying to gather them all up and load them into their van. Well, Charlie sees this and decided, hey, that looks fun. I like fun. I'm gonna go have fun, and decides to run off and join in, while my other dog Jay is chilling in the grass next to her water ball and stuffed toy. So I call out to Charlie, walking towards her, whistling and snapping my fingers to try and get her to come back, but it's no dice. She keeps moving and reaches the family, running around happily between everyone's feet like a cat with zoomies, whose life goal is to trip everyone it sees. The family's almost loaded up into the van, and one kid stops and bends down to pet Charlie. I'm thinking, oh good, they stopped her from running off, and I keep walking. The mom of the group is buckling a kid into the seat and turns around to notice, looks up at me and then back at Charlie, and then picks her up and puts her in the kid's arms. She then closes the car door and ushers her kid to the other side, hurrying them to get inside of the car. I'm then close enough to hear her say, go, right now. I then yell out and I say, hey, stop, that's my dog. And I weeble wobble as fast as I can towards the car. Out of the car steps who I assume is the father and maybe an uncle. Now, I'm really not sure, as it was an older gentleman with gray hair, and the father steps in front of me and puts his hand on my chest, stopping me right in my tracks. And this is where things really start to get weird. Now, because I was walking fast, the sudden stop almost causes me to fall backwards, but luckily I maintain my balance. The dad looks at me and says, well, hey now, that's far enough. I look at him and I say, that's my dog. She literally just took my dog. And I'm shouting at this point, making sure I get the attention of anyone else around. The person who I can assume is the uncle starts wagging his finger in my face and says, no, he is ours. We found him. We adopted him legally. The father then looked at him and said, you stop, be quiet. Now the mother is on the other side of the car watching us, holding her kid's shoulder, still not inside the car. I looked at him and I said, if you like that finger, you'll keep it out of my face. Give me back my dog. The uncle then waves his hand at me and scoffs, with the father saying, that is not your dog, and he can put his finger wherever he wants. He then jabs his finger right in my chest. Now at this point, I take a step back and I lift my cane up and I say, don't let this thing fool you. Give me back my dog now. Now as reference, I'm by no means intimidating. I'm 5'7" and I wobble around with a cane. The father is a foot taller than me, and despite having a beer belly, he still had some muscles on his arms. The mother then shouts from the other side of the car, you already have a dog. We like this one. My kid deserves it. Look, she's so cute. But I just scream at them, give me back my dog. The father then says, you better get your dog and get out of here before you get hurt, little man. Now my other dog Jay had made her way over and is standing a few feet behind me. I call for my dog to go to the car and she thankfully turns around and heads that way. At that point, an older and younger woman come up from behind the uncle, who was now standing silent this entire time but standing over on the side. The younger woman then says, hey, no, that's not right. We had been here when you arrived and you didn't have the dog. He did. And the young woman pointed at me. The father then looks at the uncle and says, get in the car. The uncle complies and gets in, and the father takes Charlie from her kid's arm and sets her on the ground. The kid says, oh, bye doggy, you're cute. And Charlie runs away to join Jay at my car, but not before running to pick up her ball and Jay's stuffed toy at the same time, falling and running back to the car empty-handed. The uncle then looks at me and says, we better not see you around or you're gonna get messed up. Now at this point, I bite my tongue and I set my cane down, glaring at them as they get in their car and drive off, with the two women still standing next to me. Once the family is gone, the two ask if I'm alright and if I need anything. I say no and I thank them for stepping in, while also apologizing to them for having to step in at all. With all of it being said and done, I head back to my dogs and I pick up their stuff, and I'm back into the car and I head back home. I'm now currently in my room in bed, slightly shaking with fear, anger, I don't know, but I'm just glad that things didn't escalate any further. Right now, Jay is stepping all over my chest, and Charlie threw a rawhide at my face, so I really think that overall things are just gonna work out. Dude, I cannot imagine going through that. If someone tried to steal my dog, I think I would get violent. Like seriously, I think anyone can agree with that. Like I would lose my mind. There's no way I would put up with that for a second. Thank God somebody was paying attention to that park because those people very easily could have taken your dog and run off. Like, it's a miracle they stepped up and defended you. Seriously. I'm so sorry that happened to you. Like, I can only imagine how stressful that must have been. I know I would have been so furious with these people if they really tried to steal my dog. But I think in the future, next time, just make sure you have leashes of some kind because, like, clearly your dogs need to be on them. But regardless, this should not have happened in the first place. And the fact that they really try to run off with your dogs, in my opinion, is absolutely insane. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. A group of entitled truck drivers think that they can cut through my emergency lane like it's no big deal, resulting in me having to put these grown men in their place in a way that they truly were not expecting. Here's how it happened. So I worked at a guard shack for a distribution center. My job was to direct and process all incoming and outbound traffic and paperwork. Most semi-truck drivers are paid by the mile, so I had some empathy for their time and tried to do my job as efficiently and pleasantly as possible. That being said, when it's busy, it is busy. It took me roughly 2 minutes to process the paperwork and check the information of each truck, which I don't think is too bad, but container haulers are a bit of a different story. They pick up shipping containers at the rail yard, drop them off at the distribution center, and most of the time grab an empty one to take back to the yard. They rinse and they repeat over and over again. So I saw these same guys several times a day, roughly every hour or so while they were fulfilling their quota for the day. They get paid by the hour and they know the drill. Now on each side of the guard shack, there are 2 lanes. 2 lanes for inbound and 2 lanes for outbound. The outbound lane on both sides is usually blocked with a traffic cone because those are emergency lanes. We keep them clear in case there is an emergency on the lot and we need to give quick access to ambulances or fire trucks, which in my 7 years of working there had happened on my shift alone more times than you would think. Every once in a while, a maintenance man or a guard would move those cones for some reason or another, and just like bees to honey, the truckers would try to use those lanes. And you know the whole saying where it's like monkey see, monkey do. And now there's a whole line of trucks I've got to sort and back up, and if I saw it coming, I would have stopped what I was doing and politely directed them to the correct lane and put the cone back in place. If it was an accident because they didn't know any better, no harm, no foul. But when it comes to the shipping container guys, they know better. And like I said, they get paid by the hour. Every now and then, I would be super busy with a long line of trucks to process and a shipping container hauler who has a bobtail, and that basically means no trailer attached to his truck, who would pull into the emergency lane and expect me to open the gate for them so that they could cut the line like it was their own personal express lane. But it's like absolutely not. Not only will allowing that put my job at risk, it will become a fully active lane as all the other truckers will follow suit, which means I can't get and give the paperwork I need to handle over there. I have no access to my computer and printer out there, and if there is an incident, emergency services can't respond in a timely manner. And like I said, I'm already slammed. Running back and forth to the out lanes makes everything take double the amount of time. So when truckers would purposefully pull up there, I would just ignore them. If I saw it in time, I would jump out and place a cone behind them to stop other people from doing the same thing, and then I would prioritize the truckers playing by the rules, all the while ignoring the container guy who is honking, waving his arm, pointing at the gate to get my attention, and only after clearing the lanes would I walk over and explain that they are going to have to back up and get in the proper lane. And if I hadn't caught it in time, I would proceed to direct everyone who was foolish enough to get behind the bozo to back up and get into the proper lane. I'd put the cone back in place and met everyone back at the guard shack with a friendly smile, even if they were just a bit toxic after that. But I guess it wasn't an express lane after all, and you just wasted a good chunk of your time and some of your pride for acting entitled. Okay, I like this story for a few reasons, and just hear me out. For me, it really sheds a light on the people who like work at a job regularly and know the rules, but still somehow feel that the rules don't apply to them. And the shipping container guys absolutely fit the bill. They know they can't go in that lane, but they're like, wait, it's open, let's go through it anyways. And for me, I can't stand working with people like that because it's like, dude, come on, there are rules for a reason. And worst of all, you know the rules and you're still trying to break them. So yeah, if I was in the original poster shoes, I would also be super frustrated dealing with this, especially when it comes to people who absolutely know better. Am I the jerk for not buying one of my friends a ticket to a music festival, all because at the time that I bought them, we were not on speaking terms? Because right now she's pissed off that I didn't think of her, and at this point, I don't know what to do. Here's what went down. Okay, for a bit of context, me and my friend used to be super close. She was my first real friend after moving a lot in elementary school, and that lasted all the way until she met her now ex-boyfriend, who we will call Max for the sake of the story. I really liked them together at first until I noticed that slowly, he was becoming more controlling over her and isolating her from our whole friend group, especially from me. He would tell her that I was a sinful person for having slept with my long long-term boyfriend before marriage, which I did once, not that it matters, and that she should no longer hang out with me. She also went around telling the whole school I slept with my boyfriend, which is pretty personal. Nevertheless, I was still trying to be a good friend. So I warned her multiple times, but she said Max was doing this out of love and only wanted what was best for her. But I knew this wasn't right, and I even told her older siblings who agreed with me and her parents who liked him a lot more because Max was seen as a holy man, but nothing could keep them apart. So I slowly stopped hanging out with her because he wouldn't let her, and she just agreed that this was right. Well, fast forward a few months and they've broken up, and my 18th birthday is coming up. For my birthday, I asked for tickets to a music festival and only that. My awesome mom got them a few months prior and said that I could bring whoever I wanted. At the time the tickets were purchased, my friend was not talking to me, and I figured that Max wouldn't want her to come along. However, since Max was out of the picture, she wanted to be friends again and come with me. Mind you, she only knows one of the artists at the festival, but after talking things out with her, I told her that I would be open to being friends again, and I said that she could come with us if she purchased her own ticket. Well, when I said that, this got her pissed because the other two didn't have to pay for their ticket. I then explained that these tickets were bought like 5 months ago and we weren't on speaking terms at that time. She told me that she obviously was not in the right headspace with her controlling ex, and now that she is, she wanted to come along. We ended up going back and forth for a while before she ended up leaving me on red, and that was pretty much the end of it. Later, I found out that she went to our school counseling department and apparently accused me of bullying and excluding her. I explained the situation to the counseling department and they understood and told her this was my choice. Now, since this happened about 7 to 8 months ago, we are no longer on speaking terms, but still I am curious. Am I the jerk at all in this situation? Because right now I don't know what to do. No, you're not the jerk at all. Your friend's an idiot. She turned her back on you when you needed her the most and then tries to be like, oh, I'm back. Please buy me a music ticket. It's like, no, lady, that's not how this works. You literally turned your back on me all because your stupid boyfriend said so. Like, she sacrificed an entire friendship just to be with some idiot guy who, by the way, surprise, surprise, ended up breaking up with her. But for me, the icing on the cake is the fact that she went to the school and is like, oh, she's bullying me. She's excluding me. I can't believe this. Like, that really shows you're dealing with a complete idiot, and honestly, you're better off without her. So no, you are not the jerk because this lady sounds incredibly dumb. Today, I got my supervisor demoted, all because I showed up to work in a really snazzy suit, causing him to suddenly become just a normal employee overnight. Here's how it all went down. Okay, I want to start off by saying that I'm posting this mainly because I'm not a passive-aggressive type of person, but I'm honestly in disbelief that this actually worked. Ever since I started at my job a few months ago, my supervisor, who we will call Josh for the sake of the story, has been constantly micromanaging me. When I'm the subject of criticism, which is often, I try to give him the benefit of the doubt and ask him to clarify. What are your expectations? What specifically should I have done differently? But Josh's responses are always vague, often something to the effect of, oh, just do better. I even had a meeting with Josh and Human Resources to address this, but to no avail. Yesterday, Josh comes to my desk to tell me that I need to dress better. Now, I work at a small company, and the vibe is usually casual. A not insignificant number of people come to work wearing jeans, hoodies, t-shirts, and or baseball caps. I have never worn a hat to work, and I make a point of wearing a button-up shirt with a collar every single day. But this particular day, I was wearing a long-sleeve button-up flannel, chino pants, and Adidas Gazelles. Other days, I wear loafers and dress shirts that are tucked in. So I asked Josh to clarify. Should I be wearing dress shoes or a dress shirt? Does it need to be tucked in? What specifically do you want me to change? Well, Josh tells me I just need to dress better and that I should talk to Human Resources for clarification. So I go and do just that and I ask what the dress code is. And in response, I just get a standard answer. Pants with closed-toe shoes, no sleeveless shirts, etc. I then ask, have I ever worn anything to work that poses a problem? And Human Resources says, no, you're totally fine. Well, because I'm mad and because my repeated efforts to resolve this kind of problem have gone unheeded, I decided that I need to be a little bit petty. So today I showed up to work in a full suit. It's one I keep for events like weddings, so it's fitted and I look really sharp in it. It's also wildly and conspicuously overdressed for the office I work in. I had several interactions with people coming to my desk to comment on my outfit and ask what the occasion was. When anyone asked me, I told them that I had been told to dress better, and this was always met with disbelief. 2 people even said they liked the way I dress normally. When anyone asked me who the order came from, again, only if they asked, I told them that it came from Josh. Now, I was expecting to pull my little stunt for a week just to prove a point, and then go back to wearing what I had been wearing before. Word then got around the office fast, apparently, because the CEO, namely Josh's direct boss, came to my desk later in the day to tell me I would be reporting to him now, and that he would be having a talk with Josh about this and other issues. It's important to note that I was Josh's only underling, so he effectively went from being a supervisor to just a regular employee. I'm now on a bit of a high, and I think I'm gonna come to work tomorrow wearing a different one of my flannels. Dude, I love this so much because my god, Josh is an idiot. All he had to do was be more specific about what he wanted you to wear, and all of this could have been avoided. But now he got demoted, and honestly, that is so satisfying. Like, I really love that. So good for you for making this happen, because from the sounds of it, it seems like Josh kinda needed this to happen, as I don't think he was cut out to be a supervisor in the slightest. My boyfriend cheated on me while he was on vacation and literally ruined our relationship. So I decided to get some revenge by moving in with his family and turning all of them against him. And I'm honestly so satisfied with the way things went down. Here's what happened. So when I was around 19 or 20 years old, adulting had come early. I was living alone and self-supporting for 2 years by then. It wasn't great, as I was living in some really awful bedsits, and I had a full-time job and 2 part-time jobs to remain solvent. Well, a handsome acquaintance caught my eye, but I was surrounded by gorgeous friends who all fancied him. He was good looking, but it turned out that I was his type, and I fell hard and fast. I really admired him too. He was only 4 years older than me, he had a trade and a good job, and had bought his own flat. From the start, he let me know that he and his friends had booked and planned a trip, literally halfway across the world for 4 months at the end of that year. I was miserable thinking about it, but happy he was going on this longed-for experience. In the meantime, I was introduced to his family and got along well. The younger brother and sister live with mom, and I fit right in. His mom got me a part-time job with her starting when he left the country, and we went on holiday together while he was away. Now, this was before mobile phones, so I waited on postcards and the odd call from a phone box that only lasted a minute. All seemed to be going well until about 2.5 months into his trip. He called and said that he had missed me too much and was coming home. I was delighted, but I thought it was strange, as it seemed completely out of nowhere. He then returns, but after a few days, he's behaving strangely. Well, long story short, he cheated on me while he was away and had been in contact with her ever since his return. He wanted to try dating her, and we were just completely over. And while I was devastated, I did hide it well. I remained in contact with his family, and I saw his mom at our part-time job. 2 weeks later, my landlord gave me notice as the building was being sold, and I shared this with his mom. She then asked if I wanted to rent her spare bedroom. The rent would be helpful, and we all enjoyed each other's company, and I needed somewhere to live. I also had a devilish thought about how uncomfortable it would be for my ex to literally bring his new girlfriend to meet his family with me there. So you know what? I moved in, and he found out literally after the fact, and trust me, he was not happy. But it was made worse at Christmas when my dad and I were invited to their family Christmas dinner. He eventually lost his mind and gave them an ultimatum, either him or me. And you know what? They kindly chose me, as I was their roommate, and as I had no problem sharing a table with him. Christmas was funny as he sulked, drank, and disappeared to call his angry girlfriend. She, of course, was unhappy that he was having dinner with me and was giving him grief, which led to them having an argument and then brought on more sulking and drinking. By the time my dad had gone home and the others had gone to bed, he was feeling no pain and decided to chance his luck with me. But I just laughed at him and I told him that I wasn't interested. He then started complaining that I was making his life miserable and that this was his family and not mine. So I told him that I was going to be living there for at least a full year, and that, you know what, my plan all along was to cause him pain, grief, and inconvenience, as he wouldn't be able to bring his affair partner to the family home. I then left the room with a parting comment, telling him that maybe he would think twice before cheating in the future, because payback is definitely going to suck. Okay, I love this story so much. Like, seriously, good for you for getting this kind of revenge. This guy absolutely deserves it. He went on vacation to cheat on you. Like, that is such a low thing to do. And then he tries to act like, oh, you guys need to choose between her or me. And it's like, oh, okay, we're gonna choose her. Yeah, she's our roommate, but I bet the underlying thing is like, yeah, well, you're a cheater, so we're not gonna make you any kind of priority. And it's honestly really cool to see that your ex's family is really cool with you, even going as far as offering you like a place to stay and a room to rent. Like, that's really cool in my opinion. So overall, this is some fantastic payback, and I love the fact that you told him this was your plan all along, because the way he wronged you, in my opinion, deserves to be punished. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you like Am I the Jerk, make sure to subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.